Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. It's ready to go.
It's okay. Now,
I guess. Is that going? Because you pressed
it's the thing's on. All right.
Doesn't look like it's.
So it is 6:30. Time for the meeting to start. So I'm going to call the regular March 10th meeting, regular City Council meeting to order. So we're going to call roll. Mayor Pro Tem Paul. Here. Councilmember Villalobos.
Here.
Councilmember Allen is called in sick or absent. Councilmember McLeod. Here. Councilmember Bunker.
Here.
And Mayor DeVinny is present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first thing on the agenda tonight is an award presentation. Of course, most people, especially all around the council, know that on January 15th we had a terrible incident occur in Martindale. We had one of our residents and also one of our council members get chewed up really bad by a dog. And one of our residents came to her aid, exemplifying, neighbors helping neighbors and people doing the right thing. And so I'd like it, Marcus, if you would come up here, please.
There he is.
All right, thank you all. What I've got here, Marcus, is a certificate of recognition for your courage and bravery in your assistance in providing help in a dog mauling incident and taking great personal risks to courageously assist and save a life. Your courage and bravery will have a profound and lasting impact in the community of Martindale. It is with pride and gratitude that I, Robert DeVinny, Mayor City of Martindale, Caldwell County, present this certificate of recognition for your outstanding courage and bravery. And I really do appreciate that. Thank you. A real man. That's the kind of spirit we like to have around here. All right. With that, we have another presentation about unopposed candidates in the upcoming election.
Mayor, I present to you this certificate as the authority responsible for having the official ballot prepared. I hereby certify that the following candidates are unopposed for the election scheduled for May 2nd, 2020. And place 1 is Sonia Gonzalez Villalobos. And place 3, Lisa Shell Allen.
Okay.
I present you the certificate.
I don't have to sign it or anything?
No, so that's me.
That's you. You did that. All right, so we're good. Thank you, Sylvia. That brings us to public comments. Do we have any of those tonight? No, nobody filled out any papers? No, that helps. All right, and that brings us down to reports and announcements. And the first one that we're going to have is the Haney & Company is here to go give us our fiscal 2019 financial audit report. So with that, introduce yourself, sir.
Very good. No, appreciate it. John Volkweg. I'm a partner with Haney & Company, based out of San Antonio. And I think we've been doing your audit for several years now. I really enjoyed it. Nice little town you have here. So we appreciate this opportunity. We do a lot of cities and towns. It's kind of our bread and butter. And it's always fun to get in and get to know these communities and see how you do things. And you see the product of our endeavor here is pretty lengthy. It's because of certain requirements that are placed on us for reporting purposes. So bear with me. I'll try to go quickly, and if I go too quickly through this report, don't hesitate to stop me midstream and ask questions. I am going to try to, because your time is valuable, try to hit on what's kind of the main points, and then if you have any other questions, we will certainly address those. So when we do an audit of a city, typically there's 2 or 3 actual audits that we perform. The first one is the basic audit of the financial statements, which is what we typically think about when we hear audit. But in a government entity, or like a city, there's also another level called an audit in accordance with government auditing standards, another step up. Requires us to do a little bit more work as it relates to compliance with laws and regulations and internal controls. Now, you don't have any government grants that some of our cities do, and if they do, then we're required to perform another level of auditing covering those specific grants. And then we submit, reports to the Single Audit Clearinghouse and what's called an OMB Circular A133 audit. Well, for Martindale, we issued 2 reports of our audit. One of them is for the financial statement audit. The other one is for the Yellow Book piece of the audit. And I will kind of give you the gist of the results of both of those, and then we'll go into the financial statements. Our first report over the financial statements is on page 2. It starts on page 2. This is our independent auditor's report, and there's a lot of stuff in here that we go through. And if you go to page 3, second page there's 3 pages of this report. The high point of this is under the opinions paragraph, very top of the page, and I'll just read it to you so that it's clear if I read it. That in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the government activities, the business type activities, and each major fund of the city as of September 30th, 2019, and the respective changes in financial position and where applicable, cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So there are 3 or 4 different types of opinions that you can get in an audit. There's what's called an unmodified opinion. Then there's, if things don't go quite as well as we hope, there could be a modified opinion, or what we call a qualified opinion. There's also what's called a disclaimer opinion, and then the worst would be an adverse. Well, this is an unmodified opinion. This is basically our standard report, so that's a good thing. So we basically had a good report this year. The second opinion that we issued is starts on page 58, way at the back, very back of the packet. This is our independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. Now, government auditing standards require that we, like I mentioned before, that we go a little bit further and look at compliance with, laws and regulations. So we kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive. We look at your internal controls here a little bit more thoroughly. Now, understand you're a small city, and it's not uncommon that you're going to have some of these, what we call control deficiencies. It's not uncommon for an organization to have control deficiencies, in other words, lack of segregation. But those control deficiencies can be compensated for through other compensating controls, like an active city council or subcontracting certain parts of the accounting function, like Dwayne here, who does your accounting. But you guys pay the bills and things like that here. So, you kind of have sufficient internal controls from what we gathered in our review of internal controls, that we didn't have any findings as it related to internal controls. Same thing with compliance over regarding laws and regulations. So with that said,
Before we get off of page 57, so on your, the last paragraph of the first section, the paragraph before excess of expenditures, during the year, the statement is made, during the year, the budget was amended as necessary. Is that this?
Yeah, so what happens is we're required to report when you, under GASB, the Government Accounting Standards Board Opinions, RSI, required supplementary information, requires you to present your budgeted amounts, the original budget, and then the amended budget. Even if technically you don't have an amended budget,
Right.
we're still supposed to present that.
So what triggers the statement that we did amend it, even though we didn't go, I mean, we didn't have a new budget presented to council, a vote and all that kind of stuff? Is it the fact that we went in there and said, okay, we had some money left over from last year and we're authorizing overruns in particular accounts?
Basically.
That's what drives that? Okay. And is that unusual?
No, not at all. It's not unusual to go in and reopen the budget, as long as you're following the requirements of public disclosure and advertising and everything like you're supposed to, you're fine. And if you need some, if you want us to give you some guidance in that area, if you have questions, we're happy to kind of give you some best practices on how to do that going forward. Great question. So going back to the report specifically, on page 59, if you go back to page 59, the very last line of the top paragraph, where it summarizes our conclusions as it relates to internal control. During our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we would consider to be material weaknesses. However, material weaknesses may exist that have not been identified. Now, there are three different types of control deficiencies that you can have in an organization. There's your basic internal control deficiency, which may not be that significant. Typically, we don't report those unless, it's a consulting type, here's a recommendation. But we are required to report all significant deficiencies and material weaknesses. And material weakness is much more serious than a significant deficiency. We did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And as it relates to compliance, in the next paragraph down, very last line, the results of our test disclosed no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. So, for example, if we had gone in and identified failure to comply with payroll reporting requirements, paying was on time, making your deposits time, things like that, that would be something that we would report, and there would be findings and recommendations attached to this. Didn't find any of those this year. We did take a look at disbursements. We wanted to see if those were being properly authorized, paid properly, coded properly, were supported by adequate documentation. It's all part of this process, and we didn't identify anything that in our sampling that we found that was a problem. That isn't to say there couldn't be, there could be, but we only sample, we don't test 100% of all transactions. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version, I guess, of the results of our audit. Now, one thing I want to draw your attention to page 5. This is the management's discussion and analysis. This is something that is prepared by you, and we incorporate it into this reporting package. And it's several pages long. It goes from page 5 to page 13. And it kind of puts in layman's terms and easy to understand narrative how the city did this year. So somebody that is reading the financial statements of the city, who doesn't want to get into all these other 50 some odd pages of schedules and reports and footnotes, could read this MD&A and get a pretty good understanding as the gist of how the city did. So there's a financial highlights section. Page 6, there's an overview of the financial statements. What I'd like to do is just kind of go to page 9. I just kind of like to, at a very high level, kind of review with you how things went in terms of the balance sheet and then in terms of the income statement, so you can kind of see how we're doing. So on page 9, we're showing comparative summarized financial statements for the balance sheet, which in the world of government accounting, we call that the statement of net position, the same thing as a balance sheet. So this balance sheet is divided up into several different sub financial statements. You've got your governmental activities that you're seeing right there in the first two columns, and you have your business type activities, and then within the governmental activities you have two funds. One of them is the general fund and the other one is the community development fund, which doesn't really have much right now. In the business type activities you have one fund, and it's the utility fund. That's the sewer operations. So if you look at the government activities, the general fund and the community development fund, you'll notice that starting at the top, you had current and other assets of about $461,000 compared to $347,000 of last year. Most of that is cash. There's a little bit in receivables, but most of that is cash, and most of it is with the Texas
Textbook.
Yeah. Then you have restricted assets of about $52,000. That's cash, and what that is in the general fund is it represents the municipal court security funds that are restricted specifically for that. The business type activities restricted monies represents customer utility deposits of about $30,000. Capital assets, that's 1.5 million. Those are all the infrastructure assets, the property, plant, and equipment at its net book value of 1.4. So your total assets in the government activities fund is about $2 million, up from 1.9 million last year. In the business activities funds, your total assets were about 1.2 million, down from 1.24 million last year. So in total assets of the city were 3.2 million, up from 3.157 last year. If you read a little bit further down the page, you have your liabilities. The most significant liability that you have, the city has, is that amount that's due to the state of Texas. And that is being paid and amortized every year. They automatically take out, 20% of your sales tax revenues. You're not in default, you're doing fine there. And that continues to go down every year. You'll notice that it went from, well, you can't see it in here, you'd have to go back to the financial statements to see, but you reduce that by about $15,000 to $20,000 a year, roughly. So we're doing fine on that. And then the non-current liabilities, those represent pension fund liabilities and accrued paid time off, accrued vacation sick leave. So overall, your net equity That's your net position down at the very bottom. Your net equity is about 1.5 million compared to 1.4 million the prior year. So it went up by almost $100,000 in the general fund. And in the business type activities funds, stayed about the same, went down a little bit. Most of that's due to depreciation. And then you have overall, your total assets were total equity was 2.6 million, 2,621,612 compared to 2,593,710. So roughly the same financial position as last year. So that's your balance sheet.
Before you get off of that, can you explain to me, because I'm a dummy about this stuff, but
You are not.
current and other assets in the utility fund, the business type activities, we got a negative asset.
Yeah, you got 42,000. So this is probably the best way to explain that. If you go back to let's go back to the detail.
Which line did you just ask about?
The very top
Top
line.
line, 42,156.
Yeah, okay.
So if you go back to page, okay. Go back to page 19. Page 19 is a standalone balance sheet for the utility fund. It's called a proprietary fund, but it's really the utility fund. And you'll notice that the current assets are positive there, okay? The reason it's negative in the MD&A is there is an inter-fund payable receivable.
That's that 60 grand that
That's
we look at
60
every.
grand. So what's happening there, and I don't know when it happened, but it's been building up over time, is the utility fund hasn't been able to really sustain itself. The general fund, you had to pay for wages and things like that for the utility fund. So that money is actually being paid for out of the general fund. And so you do reimburse it though every year, but somewhere along the line that wasn't being done. Maybe you weren't collecting all your water assessments or something. I don't know, but you have this deficit, and the deficit is, at least for the last 2 years, has remained the same at about $67,000. So that's something you may want to be thinking about, how you're going to address that going forward. One positive note to be thinking about is as you continue to pay down this liability, your cash is increasing overall. So you may be able to start dipping or paying off that $60,000 a little bit every year and get that down to zero at some point. So that might be something you want to consider as part of your budgeting, how you're going to decrease that. Right now it looks like we're just transferring enough to cover the payroll. But if you want to do a little bit more than that, if you can, that will help to kind of shrink that deficit.
That helps me.
Yeah. So anything you can do to do that. So that's why you have that deficit. So good question.
I have another question too.
Okay.
About, that big debt that we have. Would it behoove us to throw a little bit more money
Isn't
than
that what you're saying?
20%?
Pay it off more? Absolutely. I'm sure the state would love to get more. Right now, I think they're automatically taking 20%.
Right.
Right?
Of the sales, I'm not sure.
Sales tax, yeah. But it's an interest-free loan effectively. I mean, the problem is really benefits.
We have to be reapproved every 10 years.
No, we don't.
Oh, we don't?
Let's get that interest-free loan. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. maybe you use the money you would have spent to maybe build up this utility fund
Yeah, then,
and stuff. Because you may have some repairs and maintenance that you might want to start reserving for. Good question, great question. Turn to page 10. This is your income statement. It's called the changes in net position. And again, it's divided by governmental activities and business type activities. Your total revenues in the governmental activities, the general fund and the community development fund, was $614,000. That's down quite a bit from the last year. And most of that is because of some operating grants you had last year and you didn't get it this year. So, but operationally,
that was the $400,000 tower raising. It was in 18. We had to do it through the city because that's the way the grant flowed.
And then it
for the
went
city,
back to the
but
water.
It went back to the water. So that's why we set up the grant fund or that other thing that hadn't had much activity this year was because those always got in and muddled up the water on regular operations, and we were trying to go off and segregate those.
so you got that money and it went right out, if you notice down below. But overall, your net profit or your net income in the fund was about $69,000 compared to $56,000, so about the same as last year. Your net profit in the business type activities, you actually ran a loss of $41,000 and $25,000 the year before, and that's probably mostly the depreciation. So overall, your net income to the city was about $27,900 compared to $31,000 last year, almost exactly the same. And there have been some transfers in between the funds. That's showing there below. They all kind of eliminate and balance out. Now, if you want to see how you did compared to budget, there are 3 budget to actual reports in here. One of them is required. We call it RSI, required supplementary information. That's the general fund budget. And that's showing on page
On page 12, general fund, utility fund, community.
No, it would be page, I will tell you, page 50.
Okay.
This is just the general fund. Doesn't include community development or the utility. And I'm only going to focus on the general fund today because the others didn't really have. Well, we can look at the utility fund too if you want. But so there you see the budget. We budgeted $553,000 in total revenues. We brought in $604,000. So we had a positive budget variance of $51,000 this year. So that's positive. If you look at the expenses down below, we budgeted $546,000. We came in at $512,000. That's another positive variance of about $34,000. So overall, you did better than expected to the tune of about $86,000. So good job. We like to see that happen, and I'm sure you do too. If you go back to page 56. Page 56 is the proprietary fund or the utility fund. We budgeted there about $300,000 for revenue. We brought in about $307,000, so we had a positive variance of $6,000. But we budgeted for for expenses, 290, and we ended up overspending by about $18,000. And most of that, I think there were some repairs or some maintenance that we had to do.
10K of it was repairs to the Crockett lift station. We talked about that last summer. It came out of the blue, and then the tap process is a little screwy on how we do that. I don't know how to forecast. Utility tap. What we've been doing is just putting in there a small, like one tap a year for tapping into the waste street area. Well, last year we had Gordon down here who put in Gordo. What's his last name? Down there across from Jack's place.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he put in 3 to the tune of about $10,000. So they get so that was the revenue extra. But it also gives you expense extras, and so when you get to the bottom line, that doesn't hurt us anything, but it shows up on these reports like that, and so.
Well, overall, we netted a deficit, a budget variance deficit of about $13,000, and so not a huge deal there. But that's about it. Any questions?
Yeah, how do we compare with other small cities our size? Average, above average, just hypothetical.
In terms
Efficiency of running?
in terms of cutting expenses?
Budget, profit loss.
Town's under 5,000.
Well, your general fund, I mean, it's impressive to see that you cut costs and you've increased revenue. So you're managing yourselves pretty well there. The utility fund, again, you had some of those last minute costs that you had to deal with. That's difficult. You're in kind of a tough situation with the sewer deal, and I don't know what the ultimate decision is there, how you get that to be profitable. But you're always going to have depreciation, and that's always going to bring you to a loss, typically. And that's non-cash. So if you're to add back depreciation, you're probably closer to break even, I'm thinking. But I would say you're doing fine. You have some challenges too that a lot of other small towns don't have. They usually don't have that huge liability you have to pay back to the state. So the fact that you can manage that and still stay solvent is remarkable. And it's good that they've been working with you over the years to pay that off. And once you pay that off, that's going to open up $20,000 more a year funds that you can use to do other things. Good questions.
So there's no way to find out what happened to all that money they collected during that time with the traffic fines and $300,000, where all that money went?
It probably was used for general operations, I'm guessing.
You gonna let him do
That goes
that?
back quite a way.
A lot of general operations.
Yeah,
You're
that
right.
probably happened over a number of years, I'm guessing.
Yes, it was.
Precedes me,
It was, and now we don't have a way of going back in time and understanding what all that went to. I mean, maybe as we keep pouring through the records, we may be able to find some of that. We'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute, but from that standpoint.
I didn't mean to bring that up again.
Yeah, hush.
Yeah.
Any other questions for John here? Going once, going twice.
No, thank you. I appreciate how you presented it.
Yes,
thank
I do
you.
too.
If you have any questions at all, feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to walk through anything that you don't quite understand. We can discuss it.
We will do that. Dwayne and I were talking earlier today about, I'm not quite sure we're handling depreciation exactly. I think we're missing opportunities because we just don't know what we ought to be doing, and so we could use some help on
Absolutely.
that.
Just let us know what we can do to help you.
And your name is John.
I'm John Boakway, and I wish I had my cards. Usually I bring them with me.
Oh,
But
I'm surprised your name's on here.
yeah, you could. The letterhead has our phone number, I believe.
Okay.
And you can just ask for John, and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I see. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All righty, that brings us to the mayor's report. So there's a number of things I'd like to talk about tonight. Number one is the census is coming. Today's the 11th, tomorrow's the 12th. It starts tomorrow. Some people will start getting letters later this week from the census folks that it'll give you a number and a web page to go to. Of course, the preferred method of completing the census this year is online. It's in the letter they'll have a one-time census ID thing and a web link, and if you just do what it says, it should work out. If it doesn't, and you use that key, the key is gone. Then you're down to phone numbers or waiting for the paper to show up. But that'll be coming. Those who don't answer will get an opportunity to do that. One of the things they're tracking this year, and we're tracking, and I'm very interested in doing it, is the number of people that respond. In the 2010 census, they now have the number for Martindale, and it was 59%. So they're shooting for the high 80s, if not the 90s, is what we need to get to. So it is imperative that if anybody asks, should you or shouldn't you, what do you think? We should. We absolutely should go make sure we're all get counted. So please do that.
Well, it really helps us in grants.
Yes. It will help in grants. We were actually turned down, and the library was turned down as they were shooting for building information because it didn't match up. And it's a tough one. We had Civics Day last Saturday. Census was a part of that. The folks were here from the census. I think they had some people that did come by and take out applications to be part-time workers. There's some of these enumerators. That's still available. If you go to the web page, it's on all of these brochures and stuff that we've got around here. You can find where those are at. So if people are interested in a part-time job for between now and June or July, those are available and they're paying pretty good. So
it's $18 an hour, and they want you to work a minimum of 20 hours a week.
Is it an honor system, or how does that work?
What was explained to me is that it would be in the area, and I guess I'm not too sure how the demographics or where they send you, or depending on who turns in and who doesn't. But
Yeah. You're doing it?
I was trying to recruit somebody over there.
okay, April 1st is what is known as Census Day. And what that is, there's a couple of things that means that. There'll be a lot of activities going on all through the state and all through the nation on April 1st, just because they're trying to heighten the knowledge of that. Of course, March 12th is when the web pages open up. So by April 1st, most people will have these letters and will be able to go off and do stuff. We think we've got a program going. That's a Wednesday, by the way. We think we got a program that's going to get spun up through the elementary schools and the library, so that they'll be able to go off and try to do some of that stuff locally here, as opposed to going somewhere to go do that. That is also the day for split families or people that are transient to answer. That is the trigger day for where you should say you're residing, is where you stay on the night of April 1st. That is the kind of where they're saying, kids in split times between parents, who to count them or whatever. This is, whichever parent you're staying with on April 1st, that's the one that ought to count you and go do that kind of stuff. So it's going on, and we need to keep working toward that. The other thing that's been cooking is the roadside maintenance project has finally begun. They've been making their way down Northwest River Road. They're way down toward, they're close to River Bend down there now. Then working down one side of the street all the way, and then they're going to turn around and come back the other side. So we'll get that. I think it's taking him a little longer than he thought about. And
looking good.
Yeah, it's opened it up quite a bit. So that's good.
A lot safer.
Yeah, I think so. So just everybody needs to know that that's going on when they see the cones out there and what they're cutting. Another thing we want to share with you is the city has partnered with Gary Job Corps for an intern. We actually have an intern that started this week, today's Tuesday, but yesterday, and you'll see him in here working on the laptop and the scanner. What we've got him doing is trying to capture all old ordinances, resolutions, and orders, proclamations that we have saved. And we're scanning those in and then loading them into our web page. So they're public information, and that people will be able to go do that. And it'll be by year. So if you follow your nose on there, I didn't bring it. We don't have a show and tell today about that. But if you follow your nose on there, you'll see something that says ordinance, proclamations, and resolutions or something, and you click on that. There'll be some file folders that go back all the way to 1983, and you can see some stuff in there. It's very interesting as we went through and named these things. So he's going to be here for quite some time and is moving along faster than I had originally anticipated, which is good news. So we will put him to other office activities as long as we can.
Is he being paid?
He is being paid, but not by us. The Gary, he provides the hours to us. We fill out his time card, send it back to Gary, and there's a place called Workforce Solutions that we qualify with him underneath that, and they're paying him. So it's good for him, it's good for us, and we got him for 12 weeks, so we're going to try to use him. The other thing that's been going on, of course, is the ETJ agreement between the city of San Marcos and Martindale. The city of Martindale was finalized on February 10th. And so I wanted to talk finally a little bit about that. All those who've been coming to council meetings for the last year have seen executive sessions where we went off to talk about what we were negotiating, et cetera. But that's all done. You saw some of it in the paper. The first thing that I want to point out, this is part of that agreement. This area right in here is the city limits. This color is the city limits of Martindale. These little areas out here where these curves are, etc., that is our statutory ETJ limit. And these beige areas that are outside of that, those areas were the self-annexed properties back in 2007 and in some cases 1983, where landowners applied to the Martindale City Council to annex them into our ETJ, and we did that. As San Marcos had grown and their ETJ limits grew out, etc., those began to overlap, and they had some competing claims for those same areas. So with this agreement, what we've done is solidified those claims. They have now released their claim to this area in here that goes all the way down in here and all of this area out here. And for that, we have traded them this spot right up here. That's 161.59 acres of property that was the current owner wanted to sell it to the developer. The developer wanted to put it within San Marcos city limits and go complete the smart terminal. So we did that with this agreement. We gave up 162 acres that was legally ours and got them to relinquish well over 6,000 acres that they were claiming, but we said they didn't really have a claim to, but they were really ours. But that part's been settled. Also, as part of this agreement, there on that 162 acres up there, we got them to agree to share the property tax revenue with us for the next 30 years. From 2021 through 2051, we will receive 30% of the property taxes that are generated from that acreage annually. And it's not the property taxes generated, I said that wrong, it's property taxes retained by San Marcos. So they'll get the original input from the property owners, and then they'll peel off 30% of what they retained. If it stays cornfields and cotton fields, not going to be much of nothing. If it does what the developer thinks it's going to go do, it's going to be a significant boon to Martindale in the later years. The rationale behind that was that if the smart terminal does what they say it's expected to do, there'll be more traffic, there'll be more people, they'll put more stress on our roads, our parks, our services, police officers. If you've seen the pack and sack lately, more traffic means more things to go off and fix. We felt like it was a fair deal between San Marcos and Martindale, and I'm very pleased with the fact that the two cities have done the right thing to go take care of each other, and they're acting as good neighbors. So, also additionally, if anybody is really interested in reading the whole agreement, it's in a book, it's for public viewing, it's out front here, you can come to City Hall, pick it up. There's a number of pages that we've poured over many times that'll try to put you to sleep, but it's all in there. If you're interested, you feel free to come look at it. And so
Should we scan that, put it on the?
I don't know. We'll have to think about that. Yeah, we'll have to think about that. One more thing that isn't in your packet that we've been working on that y'all need to know, the council needs to know about, the city needs to know about, is the good old coronavirus. On March 4th, which was last Wednesday, the first non-imported case of the coronavirus was detected in Texas. That was down in the valley. Since then, they've also identified some cases in Harris County and around Houston. Our police force and the fire force and Jared and I have all discussed it over the weekend and trying to figure out what we needed to do as a city to communicate to our citizens and also take actions to protect our own personnel within the city, or city employees, etc. And so we've put together a plan that is still evolving as of today. I will send out a copy of that to the council tomorrow, maybe tomorrow evening, depending on, we're still making changes. This is all in preparation for a meeting on Thursday in this room between the business owners and organizations within the city limits that we're going to talk to them about what triggers new steps and what those steps are if we start having cases of coronavirus closer to home. So when you see it, you'll understand what we're on. The basic premise is that as cases are detected closer and closer to Martindale, we ought to be taking more heightened precautions and steps. And the reason I brought the business operators and owners in is because as we take those steps, it's probably going to impact their businesses. When we get to a point, if there's 10 cases floating around Martindale and we're telling all the at-risk folks to stay at home, of course that's going to cut down some of the restaurant business. The Dollar General's not going to see people, etc. And so the intent is to tell them what our plans are on Thursday and also get input for them to change that plan if necessary. Y'all from the council are welcome to come, but it's moving so fast we don't have time to put out a notice of potential quorum. So if you do come, you have to come as a citizen and not be talking about city activities or whatever.
What's the distance that triggers that? Is there, they're gonna have a mileage?
Nobody had it so far, so I created it. We Harry and the guys created it, and so basically the first trigger that goes to level 1 is if we have it in the state, and that's already occurred. So we're going to use our utility bill and the web page to notify people of just the same stuff you're getting on the air now. It's not, because it's way far away from it. If we find a documented case in San Marcos, Luling, Lockhart, or Staples Redwood area, or any kind of a circle around that, then we move to what I've referred as labeled as level 2, and there's some more steps to take there. And then if we have one inside the city limits or our ETJ, at that point we move to what I refer to as level 3, and we take that's a much more stringent approach to this thing. So anyway,
Well,
that's,
I mean, and are people going to report that to the city?
no, but they will be, they've got a
If I got
system.
it, I wouldn't know to report it to the city.
If you got it and go see a doctor, they'll
They
report
will.
it to
Okay.
the CDC, and the CDC is putting out by county, I believe, a count for those counties within Texas. You can go see how many documented confirmed cases there are currently,
Okay.
and they do update that daily. So, and of course, part of this is dealing with our county emergency management
Right.
coordinators, and they're looking at that. So, with that communication, I think we'll know pretty quick if there's one close by, and I feel like the city's duly bound to go tell their citizens of that when it occurs. So, that's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And what time is that meeting on Thursday?
6 o'clock in here, so you're welcome to come if you want. Okay, with that, I think that's all I got for the mayor's report. The next thing up is city administrator's report, and Jared, although he was here Saturday, he missed yesterday because he'd come down with something.
Oh, no.
And so he stayed away. But so in your packet, you've got an update. He talks about Patrick showing up. That's our intern from Gary. He'll be here for 12 weeks. Civic Day was held on 3 and 7. Had a number of exhibitors. We had from the Census Bureau, the Rural Capital Area Workforce was here, Texas State University was here, Texas Disposal Systems, Blue Bonnet Electric, Martindale Water Supply, the Historical Commission was here, the Parks Commission was here, the River Commission was here.
Right on.
And of course, we had the police and fire departments here, the library, voter registration table was working. We had a lot of folks displayed, et cetera, and I was concerned that there might be more of those folks than actual
More
visitors.
citizens.
But I was pleasantly surprised that we did have a pretty good turnout of
Good.
visitors. Now, it wasn't hundreds, but it was more than a handful. So kind of like that. I thought that we've been looking for something to do in the spring every year, and if we can go put a little more activities in there, I think that might be something we're hitting on here. Strategic planning update, and I'm just going to read this because I didn't get it until about 5 minutes before. They got over 22 responses to the survey, which is available online and in print, so please, if you haven't taken it, please do. The first workshop on 3-2 was canceled due to low attendance, although a couple of people showed up, I think, that night. Did have a workshop on 3 and 7 with the Civic Day. Jared ended up having to cancel the one last night. But every Monday from the rest of the month, we're trying to go do this. And he's got a scheduled workshop on 3 and 28. And initial feedback have highlighted the positives of Martindale's size, community, and location near the river, while also showing areas for improvement in beautification, code enforcement, infrastructure maintenance, and communication with the community. So that's beginning the kind of information that's coming in. And there's a new brochure out there on the city's webpage that I hadn't looked at.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's just gives you instructions on how to sign up to our website so that you get notifications if there's any news or if agenda comes out or something. It'll either text you or send you an email, whatever you choose to sign up for. So, and it gives you more detailed instructions on the flyer on how to do it.
Okay, with that, let's move on to 5C, which is the financial report. So Dwayne, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You see the financial report with the cash balances on the front there as of yesterday. You see the general fund, street, court, police, utility. Totals $157,392 for those kind of general operating funds that are down the street at First Lockhart National Bank. Community Development Fund still has $10, And then you see the investment funds. The emergency fund has just under $195,000, and the Public Funds Investment Act kind of overflow account has $240,000. The largest of that is, you see the second line, $195,000, which is basically property tax revenue that's come in earlier in the year than the expenses hit. And then you see our little capital improvement fund down there that we funded with that excess money that was left over from last year's audit report you just heard about. And then you see the amount due the comptroller for the fines there at the bottom. The next page has a budget report for the general fund. You see that we've received just under $435,000 of revenue. The first line item, the property tax revenue at $314,000 roughly. We're at 94% of that revenue line for the year. So the majority of that money is in, and it is coming in at a faster pace than a year ago. So that is good news.
So it says that we have about 6% that's still outstanding. So do we have a company or anybody that ever goes and collects those if we don't get them?
You know, we don't. We do get delinquent payments though every month. When
Caldwell
people-
County CAD goes after that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they'll, I guess, sue them in court and try to sell them on the steps if they don't pay, but.
Right. Okay. I was
And
just
when they
curious
do
about
that, and I mean, if it gets down to that point and they do that, the proceeds goes to Caldwell County CAD and we get it. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a case
All
of.
right.
Yeah, every month there's a little section of people who have paid delinquent
Right.
taxes.
All right.
Okay, as we get into the expenses, we're 5 months into the year, so that's 42% of the year. So if you look at, for example, the personnel section and you go over, we're just under 40%, so we're on plan there. You go down to the operating expenses, section 6500, we're at 30%, so we are tracking positively there. Total expenses are at 37%, so we're doing well. Let's see if there's any line items worth mentioning over here. Nothing that's a surprise. Other expenses, not much going on there. Contractual is the last section, 34.5%, so that's under plan as well. So that's all looking good. The next page, vendor balance detail, basically is shows all of the vendors that we received bills from last month and paid over the last month. So track down through there and see if there's any questions there.
Intergovernmental risk pool.
Yeah, that's the name of the Texas Municipal League's insurance arm. And I think that $600 is workers' comp insurance.
Oh,
So yeah, we pay them quarterly. And I think that's actually an audit for the prior year being more than was expected. So.
When we, that $29.25 that we paid, is that over the regular?
Yes.
And what is that? What brought that up? The San Marcos or?
When you say over
I'm
the
s-
regular,
the
that,
way my
the regular piece
law-
is in there. There's regular 1800s in there.
Is included in that
Yeah.
$29.25? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we're only about 15 over, okay.
$1,100.
Thanks, Rob, okay.
And yeah, we used him for, a number of things, but, most of it was the ETJ.
Yeah, I thought that's probably what it was, okay, it's all right. I figured it is the San Marcos.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay, thank you.
The next report lists the budget versus actual with the utility fund. We brought in 118,000 and spent roughly 110. So you see we brought in about 40% of the revenue and spent about 40%. So that fund is pretty much break even as is designed. So, and then the next page shows the checks that have been issued, bills received and issued, checks issued out of that fund. Oh, you'll notice down here toward the bottom of the first page, Texas disposal. There's 2 checks written in there because the one from January was lost in the mail. So I had to stop that and send them another one. I'm glad they still picked up our trash. That's why you see 2 of those payments.
Lost in the mail and never found?
Never found. I had to pay $30
Wow.
to stop payment on it.
Wow,
So,
okay.
and that looks like the financial report. Thank you all for sitting through the audit presentation.
Yeah,
And,
Thank you.
thanks for coordinating that.
yeah, it all seemed to go well. So,
Thank you.
thank you all.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is the court report, but the judge called in absent as well, and I don't think he gave us the stuff yet, so there's nothing to talk about there. We'll have to wait on that. The next one is the police report. You've got your blotter here.
On Civic Day, somebody asked if we could post these online.
On the web,
Yeah.
we could do that probably.
Put that underneath the police page.
Harry's not here due to family sickness as well, so we're going to let Chris talk to all of these. I think we should try to go quiz him in depth on every one of them tonight. But
Certainly, I'll make lots of notes prepared.
But before we do, I want to say something on number 17 on there. On 2 and 11, the DEA came to town and picked up one of our citizens, and it was based on a 6-year sting, effectively, investigation that was headed by the DEA, and for several years now, Harry has, of course, been quizzed by citizens and other people about, well, why don't we do something about the folks over at this particular location, or what's this strange stuff going on? And of course, he hasn't been able to go be free with that information, kept his yap shut, took some abuse from people, etc. over that. But I do want to say that they started out with kind of small, and then were able to go spread the strings of this. They ended up picking up, I think, 17 people that strung from Austin to, I believe, some in Houston, San Marcos, different places, and it was a pretty big deal. So we did our part with it from the city standpoint of doing what the DEA asked us to. The local guy is in federal custody as we speak, so that's the good news.
And we asked what it was
So
to do with?
Drugs,
Okay,
yeah, this was a drug
They
bust.
were
They
meth
were
house or something.
meth? Yeah.
distribution coming from Mexico. So,
What's the hit and run, 24 and 25?
you know,
Let's see.
Is it a?
24, 25, and 26.
Isn't that the one where the car was?
I believe there was a car that went. Yeah, it was an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle that was in Guadalupe County. They came into our town, and then it was a kid that was driving on our dad's.
So what did he hit?
Oh,
the Schmidt's fence.
the Schmidt, yeah.
And somebody off of 1979 too went through their front yard and tore up some stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that, I said, man, I hope somebody didn't get run over. I mean, could you make a little more detail, like if it was, property damage, hit and run looked like
A person.
a person. It was a little
Yeah.
confusing to me, so.
Yeah.
so,
I'll mention, see if we can add some detail.
Okay.
Any
Yeah,
questions,
just-
other questions?
yeah, say it's more property and not personal.
Hey, Mayor, I have a question because I don't see it like listed on here, but you know how that stop sign is always down at Quill Run, like all the time? Like,
Yeah.
it's always down.
Barry told me about that.
Like, is it?
That was a March incident, so it's not on here yet. But yeah, we had a one more time. Since I've been mayor, this is the third time we've had to replace that stop sign.
We also, that one it's turned the
Somebody else
wrong
paid for it.
direction.
Somebody else?
Where?
Yeah.
Coming up the hill right
construction
there.
office.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
turned
yeah.
like it's weird. It needs to be
This one.
Well, I
turned
just
in.
thought about this. I mean, most of them are big trucks, aren't they, with trailers?
Trailers is what seemed to get
Could
it.
we not allow, could we do as a city street, not allow trucks of a certain size or?
There is a sign over Skull Bridge that I thought it had something about that.
That's
on
weight
it.
limit usually, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
talking
it
about
is. I don't know. We've talked. We've been kicking around what to go do about this. The good news on this particular incident that I think is very telling of our process that we're trying to use around here is that I came by that intersection about 11 a.m. that morning, and everything was fine. Then I went by again at 5:30 or so, and it was gone. Destroyed. The sign was destroyed. The beam was out in the road. The whole
The
thing.
railroad ties.
And of course that gets to you. And I thought, well, here they got away with it again.
Hey, buddy.
So the next day, of course, we had Mr. Fuchs down there and Harry helping to place the sign and get it replaced. And a citizen came up from the apartments over there and said, "Hey, y'all get the guy?" And he says, "Well, no, so you want a picture of it?"
All right.
And he said, "Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, we would like a picture of this." And so we have tracked that down. Harry got on the case. He has found the trucking company, found the culprit, and the process is in work of getting reimbursed for this as soon as we tell him how much money it is, etc. But I thought that was a perfect example of this community-based policing that we've been talking about for several years now, is that when I lived up in Dallas and Plano, there would be nobody come up, no citizen would get involved in that. They would say,
Right.
that's the police's problem, we're not going to go help, we're not thinking about this, etc. And so the fact that they become approachable and known, I think this is a perfect case study in that actually helps us have eyes all over the city, even when they can't be there. So
Right.
Quick question for Bud, is as a city, could we, since that's our city street, could we do some kind of restricted access for heavy trucks or with links? Because the biggest problem is not that stop sign, is when they turn right. That's a hairpin turn,
right, that's correct. That's when the trailer gets over there and takes out the
So
sign.
I mean, for a safety concern, because I drive that road all the time. You have to go all the way over right, and if there's some big trucks coming in there. So I don't know if we could, as a city, put restrictions on that thing.
Well, that road not built for heavy.
Well,
trucks,
it's
is
built
it?
for the weight, but I'm just saying
Is it?
it's that trailer swinging around.
Yeah.
If you're in that right lane, that trucker will come. He'll take you out. So that's a really bad spot. If we could have something about length of vehicle, I don't know about weight limits. Probably not weight limit, but it's length of vehicle or something.
We're going to have to work on that.
Okay.
Okay, that brings us to the boards and commissions report. So the first one up is the Historic Commission, and Mr. Foster's here.
Yeah, thank you. A couple things to mention. We do have one COA on the board right now, and it's concerning the water tower. They plan on painting it, and so they've submitted a couple different designs, and we were going to meet this week, or it looks like it's going to be next week. So that'll go through the Historical Commission. We'll hopefully end up with a design on the water tower that's acceptable to everybody.
Cotton ball.
We'll see. It'll be a democratic process.
Yeah.
The other thing is, during this council meeting, you guys will be reviewing a couple of applications for a new member. We've got 2 people that have submitted applications, so letting everyone know that, but we'll have hopefully a new member here pretty soon. And the last thing is, you mentioned scanning on the website, and I thought it'd be great to have the map of the historical district somehow on the website where people can see where they live. I'm not sure if you have that readily available, but I brought a bunch of extra maps from that from the Civic Day that we had, and if anyone wants one, I'm happy to.
Yeah. If you have an electronic copy, why don't you send it to Jared?
I just have a paper copy.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say,
I
if
did
the
pick
gentleman
one
in
up,
the intern is scanning things, he could scan that in as a.
He can if it's down to at least 11 by 14.
It's 11 by 17, I believe. It's a longer.
That
size.
might work, I don't know.
I'll give you one real quick.
Yeah.
And I'll take one too.
Okay. And anybody else? I think I have 5 or 6 of them. If anybody else wants one. And I made it big because it's kind of hard to see the lots.
Oh, I'd like to have
You'd like one of those? Okay.
Yeah, I would.
I put one up
Visuals.
there.
Anybody else want one? There you go. And it's the black dotted line. But I think you can just put this on the, put it on the scanner and shrink it down.
Yeah, we can probably.
Yeah. You want one? I've got plenty. I've got more at home too. Anybody else would like them out? You want one? Maybe you want? You're in the store. This is. You have one. Yes, you got one. So I think that's it. Any other questions?
Thank you, Craig.
You're very welcome.
Can we ask them any recommendations for the
No, not yet. We may, we'll cover that when we get to that.
Okay.
Parks, Sam,
Yes.
you're here.
Yes, Mayor, thank you, and City Council members. We had a good, successful volunteer day this past Saturday. We had Jan Bunker show up in Guardiola Park, so we had Sean McDonald, Jan Bunker, and Pat Wilkins working at Guardiola Park. They reset all the bricks around the landscape beds that have lantana in them. They were actually sticking up too far, and they were sort of a trip hazard or would get stuck on a mower perhaps. So they lowered all those to ground level. Also, Sergio Gomez did some work there at the park. He trimmed some of the trees, so I thank the volunteers for that. There are 2 broken rails on the fence at that park. They're like split cedar rails, and I think I can buy those at Lowe's, so I need to buy 2 rails for the fence at Guardiola Park. At Allen Bates Park, we had myself, John and Susan Schmidt, Jeff Latimer, and then Sergio Gomez came and we did a lot. Jeff push mowed actually all the way from the Porta-John all the way down to the basketball court, and then I detailed everything with a weed whacker around all the trees, around the picnic tables, and the barbecue grills. What I've seen when Tommy does come to mow, he does do a good job of mowing, but as he's mowing, he's blowing all the cut grass against the garbage cans and against the picnic tables and the supports for the picnic tables. So you end up having a big thatch buildup on the concrete surfaces and around the picnic tables and around the garbage cans. So it would help if he had a backpack blower and say came along, I don't know if he has one or not, and blew off all these surfaces, because that's what I did also. I weed whacked it all and blew off all those surfaces, and then I cleaned the garbage cans off too, because the grass stuck to all of that. Again, Sergio did trim some of the pecan trees there. Also, LA Landscape, Aaron Arguin, who is a friend of the park, he did mow Guardiola Park before the volunteer day, so I want to send out a good word for LA Landscape. Also, Carlos De Leon, that works for Pat Wilkins, he trimmed all the trees, which was supported by Pat Wilkins, trimmed all the trees and shrubs in Guardiola Park. So also Jeff Latimer replaced the basketball hoop at the basketball court. So that was nice of Jeff to do that. I'm reached out to the city and asked the city administrator to write up a cover letter for our 3 surveying companies that we need to survey phase 1. I hope that was produced and put out. If not, it needs to be done as soon as possible so we can start to get the survey done and get the work done in phase 1, which means buy gravel, like 10 truckloads of gravel, buy some of those limestone blocks to use as barriers. So I'm very anxious to start on the work at phase 1 as soon as we can get the survey done. The liability release form was produced by the attorney, but it ends up being 4 pages long. Do we want to use that form?
We redid that one and got it all on the current form. I guess I didn't get you a copy of that.
Okay, cool.
But it's just come anytime you can, come by, see Carmen or Gloria, and it's there.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, he's wordy.
The 2 broken swings have been ordered and they should be delivered, I think, within a week or so, and Susan Schmidt arranged that. I've also noticed that there is a sign that depicts the playground on 1979 is down on the ground on the right side before you get to Fannin Street. So that sign needs to be put back up. That's about all I have for that. I'm going to buy the rails for the Guardiola Park. I mentioned the cleaning not being done when the mowing is done, a backpack blower, and even a weed eater. I don't know if Tom Futch has a really good weed eater, but he could use that, or I'll come and weed whack behind him. In your discussion tonight, you were going to ask you'll be asked if Jeff Latimer, who is a volunteer at the park, can become a component of the Parks Advisory Committee. For your information, he has filled out the volunteer form and he has done the online training required for people on advisory boards. I highly recommend him to replace Sean McDonald on the Parks Advisory Board, and I hope you submit him to the board.
Sean will be greatly missed.
Yes, but he'll be around town,
Okay.
doing work around town.
Okay.
Okay.
Sam, before you sit down, two things. Number one is that we've turned Tommy on to go mow that tomorrow, that the grass was getting high, et cetera. So this concept of, hey, blow it away from this area instead of onto this area, if you get a chance, you feel free to mention that to him tomorrow. If I see him, I'll try to tell him the same thing. The concept of bringing in loads of gravel into a floodway is not going to be able to happen without some severe work. I have contacted FEMA, and Texas Water Development Board, which is who FEMA referred me to for Texas questions regarding floodway issues. There's some things, and I'm not going to go into them tonight, but we have to be very careful with what we do there. We cannot, if we violate our own ordinance, we will end up jeopardizing FEMA insurance availability for anybody within the city limits, and we can't do that. And when discussing, hey, we're just trying to smooth out bumps or whatever, we'll have to bring in loads of gravel, several yards of gravel. That was a heinous, no, you cannot do that, okay? Now, I can't quote you this chapter and verse out of the federal regs yet. I'm working on that, but just slow roll on bringing in big gravel. We can, without any problem, go take that pile of mulch or compost that's been down there in the triangle. It's in a floodway. We can move it inside our own floodway on our own property all we want. So taking it out of that pile and filling it in holes is okay. Now it won't stay very long, but it might make things easier. But don't sign us up for taking
How about dirt? Can you not, no soil?
They don't want,
But because that floats, the mulch kind of floats, is that why, or?
No, because it's got, you could, if we had.
From your own.
Yeah, if we had, you can take it, you can dig a hole over here in your floodway and put a pile over here, or vice versa.
Right.
As long as it's in your property and your
I got
floodway,
it now.
okay?
Okay.
But you can't bring in a truckload of anything and dump it into the floodway.
Right.
So just be aware of that.
Interesting.
Hey, Mayor Vinnie, I wanted to ask you, Joy sent out an email in regards to a river cleanup that was happening, and I know that they were trying to get into, trying to get other groups to help out. I know that the river cleanup is gonna be this month. Do you remember the date?
They
believe
did
it's
it
the
last
28th.
weekend.
No, I thought I saw one today.
I thought it was this Saturday.
San Marcos River Foundation had theirs Friday.
Last weekend
This
was,
is-
Had theirs Saturday.
But the one, the vote for the Martindale, I thought was gonna be this weekend.
Yes, I think that's
I,
what we're talking about.
I remember seeing that, and I don't remember off the
The
top of my
date.
head the date, so. Okay, enjoy it, and nobody here from the River Committee, I don't believe, are they? Going once, going twice? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
That brings us to,
the lights on your, you don't usually have it on. So.
that brings us to consent items. We got a stack of minutes here, as well as the accounts payable.
Is that right? Excellent.
It's raining.
Any questions on the consent items?
No, it's the 3 sets of minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes from December 4th, January 27th, and March 10th as presented, and the accounts payable as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions, comments?
What is this? The City of Martindale General Fund, the 66,000. Is that what we?
That, it's funny, that's the thing that the auditor belabored so long on, the debt that the utility fund owes to the general fund.
Right.
And it has to do with that $5,000 or so a month that we transfer from the utility fund to cover the payroll and the overhead. And for like a year and a half, it wasn't done. Back in 2017 or 16, whenever the craziness was around here.
Right.
And that's just sitting there unpaid from one fund to the other. And it's on this report every month, it's
Right.
on the audit at the end of the year, but it's just
So
money
we need
kind
to
of we
fix
owe
that.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And it hadn't, because it hadn't been a big issue, we went back to doing the transfers on a monthly basis like we're supposed to, so that's not a problem. But the, going back and rectifying all of that hadn't been a big deal to anybody, including me, and so we hadn't figured out how to go solve that or to actually fix it, but we probably could. So, all right, we have a motion to accept them and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. 4-0. All right, now that gets us to the real work. So we're down to agenda item 8A, discussion possible action to accept the FY 2019 financial audit. I put that on here simply because I think we've done that in the past, but I don't know that it's necessarily required, but I also don't think it hurts a thing. So if, unless somebody's seen something they didn't like in his presentation, I would entertain a motion that we accept the audit as presented.
I'd make a motion that we accept the audit as presented, 2019.
Any seconds?
Yeah.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Very good. All right, next thing is, where's 8B go? Somehow in my packet I didn't get that. So 8B is discussion possible action to approve authorization of the city treasurer's for the city treasurer, Dwayne Anderson, to transfer $15,000 from the general fund to the city emergency fund as called for by the 2020 budget. And there is a page in there. Got it. That if you look at this, down here at the bottom, what we did is we took the October through January, we prepared this before the February numbers were out, of what the balance was and how much monthly interest we received on that emergency fund balance. We assume that we're going to get at least $250 a month for the remainder of the year, showing that by the end of the year, down in that lower right-hand corner, the interest income will be $3,153 or more, we think, a little bit more. And therefore, to make up the 15 grand, we need to move another $12,000 over there and then get that action completed for the year. So that's what we're asking for today is approval to go ahead and move that 12K. We got it, as you saw earlier, it's in the overflow fund of the other text pool. It's just a matter of moving it over there.
I would like to make a motion to approve the authorization for the city treasurer, Dwayne Anderson, to transfer 15 from the general fund to the city emergency fund.
I second it.
But it's only 12.
It's
12. It's because we had an excess. Yeah.
12. Yeah, it's the 3 just automatically goes in there from the interest payment, so 3 plus 12 is equal to 15 planned, but we'll only have to move 12 right now. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, there you go. Now we're moving along. 8C, discussion and possible action to appoint a candidate, either Catherine Glaze or Mari Domingo, to fill the single vacant position on the Historic Commission. So our ordinance, 151.03A, that's the paragraph in ordinance 151 that says that the city council has to do the appointments for the Historic Commission members. We've got 2 volunteers, Ms. Glaze and Mr. Domingo, and you guys got a copy of both of their volunteer applications. And so I'm recommending that we use the same process that we have used before, which is try to answer any questions that y'all have about candidates that we can answer. And after that, we just go have a show of hands on how many would vote for Mari and how many would vote for Catherine, and use that process. So that's what we've done for Mayor Pro Tem and something else not long ago. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Fine with me.
Okay, so anybody got any comments, questions about Mari or Catherine?
I'm ready to vote. I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, I'm good.
Everybody ready to vote? Okay. How many are in favor of Mari? 1, 2, 3. How many in favor of Catherine? 1. All right, so we got 3. So I need a motion now that says that we want to appoint Mari Domingo to the Historic Commission.
I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the application of Edward Maurice Mari Domingo to the Historical Commission.
I second.
All in favor? 1, 2.
Aye.
Passed. 4.
Now he lives here? Mari?
He has a business.
No, but does he live here?
Not until he gets that building built.
So that's not a requirement to live in the city limits?
No.
Okay.
You know,
I just wanted
Oh, I
to-
didn't know
I didn't look
I didn't
that
know that
piece.
was Barney. I would have nominated him. I didn't know his last name, so.
You're good.
He's got some,
Anybody
I
that
could
has a
change that.
business can do it?
We're good.
I didn't know. I didn't-
Only on that
I didn't
one?
connect it.
No, even on the river committee.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll retract
Oh,
my
yeah,
statement
that's
earlier.
true, I guess, because River Committee's got a
Yes,
lot of
you
people that don't
I'll
live in.
retract
Yeah, yeah.
my nomination.
We got it, we're good. All right, we got 8E, now we also have another commission opening, the Parks Advisory Board. It's comprised of 5 members. That particular one has a term limit of 2 years, and 2 members' terms were up, Richard Salmon and Sean McDonald. And so Richard requested to be reappointed. He wants to stay on there, but Sean said he needed to be able to get off of there, but Mr. Latimer has had volunteered for this, so I'm recommending that we appoint the 2 volunteers since there's nobody to choose from other than those 2. So I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the volunteer interest application of Jeffrey Latimer for the Parks Advisory Board, and also for Richard Salmon.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Very good, very good.
I get a nameplate now I can stick on my hat. Just kidding.
Thank you, Judge.
We still got those stick-on badges?
Yeah, I got one for you.
All right, agenda item 8E.
There you go.
The city currently has a 457B deferred compensation retirement plan. This is like a 401K, but and I don't know exactly the differences, but there's some little difference of it. We have, I think, 3 employees that participate in this currently. One of them requested that can we get loans of their own money coming back out of there. That's a typical feature of many plans, at least the ones I've ever seen, that you could always go borrow your own money back out of there. So we called, Dwayne called and asked if, how do we set this up? They replied, the ICMA people replied, you got to have a resolution to do this, and they were kind enough to provide the resolution. And it reads as such: the City of Martindale, resolution of the above named employer, which is the City of Martindale, whereas the employer has employees rendering valuable services, and whereas the employer has established a retirement plan for such employees which serve the interest of the employer by enabling it to provide reasonable retirement security for its employees, by providing increased flexibility in its personal management systems, and by assisting in the attraction and retention of competent personnel. And whereas the employer has determined that permitting participants in the retirement plan to take loans from the plan will serve these objectives, now therefore it be resolved that the plan will permit loans. So I need somebody to, any questions over any of that?
Now, when they take the loan out, because when I participated in something like that, we had to make sure we paid it back in a certain way. I don't know if we
You
have
have to pay it back within 5 years.
Oh, it is, and that's just
and
standard.
it's-
That doesn't need to be mentioned or anything.
If you pay it back, do they have to pay interest on it?
No, it's a
Just each of
special-
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to pay it back within 5 years or upon termination of employment.
Well, to put your mind at ease, this is the instructions that go along with it.
Oh, okay. So
It's about that long.
follow. So
They got
all we
to follow.
need is this.
All we need is
for
the
them to take
resolution.
care of that. Okay.
Yeah, then we fill out a form and send it
Okay.
in with a copy of the
All right, yeah,
resolution.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, there you go, thank you.
Are we gonna wait to vote on this for a resolution then, take action now?
No, that was the resolution, so
Okay, right, so do.
So we need a motion to.
I'll make a motion that we accept that resolution for employees to be able to retrieve loans from their ICMA retirement account.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you very much. I got that one out of there. All right, now that gets us to 8F. Okay, now if y'all will, hopefully everybody got that page out there. When last we left our heroes back in December, we had talked about using our hotel tax revenues for a number of different things, and we still had some work to go off and go do to verify that it was all okay. But the gist of what I got out of the council that day was that, yeah, let's keep on trucking down that path. So, we kind of agreed that we would utilize some of those revenues in support of special events held within the city. So the two special events currently that we have that tie to potential bringing in outsiders. One of them is, of course, the 4th of July parade or the 4th of July festivities. And the other one is the downtown streetlight. So we contacted TML for advice concerning those two activities. The idea was I gave them a pretty good sell job on, hey, we got a 1,100 person town that traditionally swells by 3,000 people on the 4th of July, obviously bringing in tourists, that we are going to have a fireworks extravaganza in the evening, triggering overnight stays, etc. Obviously, this one is a no-brainer. We can use hotel tax on this per, and I quoted the statute paragraphs, etc. I was really pleased with that, thinking there's no way they can turn us down. Unfortunately,
They turned us down.
well, they didn't turn us down. We didn't get a yes. We didn't get a no. We got a qualified maybe, which I was not happy with. But he did say the qualified baby would turn into a definitive yes if we could pair these with some kind of artistic endeavor. If you recall, back in December, we talked about programs that supported the arts was one of those paragraphs, etc. And so, one of the businesses in town, specifically Highway 80 Feed Barn down there, would like to have a music event. He wasn't thinking the 4th of July, but they're down there scratching their heads now about that thing, seeing if they could go make that happen. So the feeling is that they gave us a qualified maybe, and the qualification was go talk to your own lawyer and see what he says. If he says it's okay, they won't argue with us, TML that is. I would just as soon go turn the qualified maybe into a definite yes by coming up with some kind of a music program that goes on. The idea would be they could have out there on their lot beside them, say at 7 o'clock on the 4th of July or something, they could have 2 or 3 bands come out there and play. And then about 8:45 they get up there and says, we're done. We want all of y'all to head to Allen Bates Park for the fireworks extravaganza, and that then we can go do that and use some of these hotel tax funds to go off and go cover that. So the first step to doing that would be to get a resolution authorizing the city to sponsor these events, which is what I've got attached here. That's the next page in your bracket here is a resolution to do that. And then continue to work with some partners, either Highway 80 or somebody, to go off and, I don't know, the people that are opening this new one here in a month or so, later in the month, this new restaurant down here might want to do something downtown as opposed to them. So we'll have to decide along the way which one gets, who knows, maybe we do them both, I don't know. So that's the idea. So this is just about my proposal is this resolution. And the resolution reads as such. Whereas the City of Martindale is committed to supporting the commercial overnight stay businesses within the city limits and extraterritorial jurisdiction And whereas there are specific events that occur with the city of Martindale each year that directly promote overnight stays in local hotel, motel, and short-term rental properties within the city and surrounding areas. And whereas these events promote the tourist trade as well as artistic endeavors that mesh with the historical culture of the community. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Martindale as follows. The City of Martindale will sponsor the following special events within the city: 4th of July Parade, music program, and fireworks extravaganza. And number 2 is the downtown street lighting for the end of year holidays. So that's what I'm proposing tonight, to go do this.
They okay the downtown lighting? The 10
Actually, they did, as long as there's an artistic bent to it. And when I talked to them about that,
Is it their vendors and stuff that they?
no, we've traditionally had a band come in there, one band, and what we'll probably need to think through this go round is maybe put one outside if the weather's screwy. I don't know exactly, but it'd be good if we would have at least 2. That comes in first 30 minutes is one, and then a break and go see Santa Claus, and then go get another one or something would work. But
Why don't we have art like booths down there on the 4th of July?
what kind of booths?
Like art booths, people that want to sell.
Over here?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that too.
You know how the
Yeah.
farmer's market usually had.
Problem with in the middle of the day, it's
It is
Yeah.
hot, you're right.
so.
All right, let's do that.
What?
Oh, I'll just be funny.
Mike and I are gonna have a fire hose fight.
Okay, so
Well, I
I'd like
like
to go ahead
that. I
and,
think we ought to bring that up.
to make a motion to accept the resolution as Mayor Tiffany read it, to have city-sponsored special events to support overnight stays.
TBD.
It's resolution number 2020-03-10.
There you go.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, do I have to recuse?
Why?
Because it has to do with the hotel thing.
No. Does it?
No, because this would be relating to the expenditure of funds. This is not something that this will not be something that will be for your financial
Benefit.
benefit.
So we take
I'm
you
in
down
that
as a
category, too.
yay?
No, let's do a nay.
You're a nay. But we got 3-1, so the motion passes. All right, thank y'all for that. That's good. Good. All right, now we get to the item 8G. Okay, so what we got here tonight, we're gonna tackle this thing in 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. And to set the stage is, of course, we had our dog bite incident on 1 and 15, and that turned into a citywide concern, rightfully so, on how animal control was handled. We held a workshop on 127, identifying a number of proposed changes to the animal control ordinances. That's one of the minutes that y'all read tonight, or passed tonight. The city requested, so since then, what we've done is the city's requested that American Legal load the current 2004 animal control ordinance to get it online. We did that on 2 and 3. Their time frame is 6 to 8 weeks. Those weeks are cranking. We should have it before the end of the month, the actual 2004 ordinance there. Now, city officials took the output from the 127 workshop and met again on 2 and 10 to start working on the wording of the changes to the 2004 ordinance. And turned out those were split into a couple of groups. The first one is a bunch of stuff that was kind of easy, kind of thing we had total control over. There was unanimous consent over all of that, what to go do. So we've tackled those, and that's what we're going to go pass here in a minute. That's one of the 4 steps tonight. The second piece of that, B, is the changes which were more complicated. Those, and we're going to talk about those in a minute as well, and the steps that we still have to go through to go get those things in place. And those are the more substantive changes to the ordinance than we've had before. And then Mary has put together a presentation that talks about her views of what she participated in the 2 and 10 meeting and asked that she could go present some of that today. So that's the next step on the agenda here. So with that, Dog's Gone Bad, and I'm going to turn this over to you.
Dog's Gone Bad. I had made a PowerPoint, but we don't have it up there. So I'll just go over this, and I'll hold this up.
I have it on my computer. I don't think that
Well, but it has to go up. Yeah, that's all right.
We have an
It'll take too
HDMI.
much.
You should be able to just do it.
What does it
And
take?
it just, don't you just, oh, we don't have the cable.
Probably is laying on the ground over there. You just got to plug it in. But we got to turn the TVs on and get them.
Oh, okay.
Where's
Yeah.
the 8?
Let me just present it, and then I'll just hold these up.
Okay.
Do you want a copy of these, Cindy, to put up there?
It'd be nice
or-
to have that overhead if we could.
Okay,
We got this equipment.
whatever you think.
use
That's
it.
why I sent it ahead of time.
Let's use
So
it.
it could be put up there.
Let's use it.
Find it.
Okay, it's on HDMI 1. That one's on HDMI 1. Y'all find an HDMI cable over there?
So you can just show it up there, yes, Cindy. and-
Yes, I believe
so
that's it.
everybody out there can see. That'd be great.
As far as,
Yeah, this is fine. No, hold on.
you want me to drive? You want to trade places with me, Cindy?
Now, what to do to go, it's on HDMI. Is that the one that's going into the splitter? Yeah, that ought to be.
Okay. I don't know how to make it.
How to trigger it? Me neither. I haven't been to that class yet.
Double click on it.
Is it on your screen?
Yeah.
It's
And I don't
not up
have
there.
it
They're
on-
gonna
I
get
don't
that
have it in the-
HDMI.
Let's see, because
It's
I have
plugged
it.
into that.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, now make it a.
Maybe this one over here, right? Yeah, there we go.
Put it in presentation.
There we go,
Now
excellent.
you got
There
it.
we go.
But now let's have it in the screen, first screen. All right. As you can tell, this is not an easy thing for me, and that's why I wanted to do this presentation, because I don't want this to happen again, and I don't know if it's totally under our control, but I do feel that we as a council need to do everything we can to make sure what happened to me is not allowed to happen to anyone else. So I titled this Dog's Gone Bad and No Second Chances. Next screen. What would you do if you went out for your daily jog or your daily walk, or taking your children out for just a stroll? Next. Would you feel safe? Do you think that you would need to carry a weapon with you of any sort, repellent, in our magical Martindale? Well, I never thought that. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I was so confident that I never felt like I would be attacked by dogs. I've had dogs come at me, but I've always had the ability, I always tell them to go home, and they would leave me alone and turn around and go back. But this time, I had 2 dogs that came at me, and they began to eat me alive. And I had no idea what that would feel like, but for 10 minutes of my life, I had that happen to me, and I screamed, and I hollered, and always on that road, someone would always drive by. It didn't happen. And I hollered out, as long as my voice would hold up, somebody help me, I'm being eaten alive. And there was no response. I couldn't get loose of these two dogs because there were two dogs. If there had been one, I keep thinking and reflecting back, maybe I could have, but with two, there was no way. And I yelled at the 18-year-old who had opened the door and allowed these dogs to go out. They were left, this young man was left to take care of these dogs during the day, and he is autistic, and he froze because when I hollered at him, "Get your dogs off of me," I didn't know who he was at the time, and I told him they're eating me alive. He said, "I can't." And I said, "Then call 911. He says, "I can't." So I called God and I said, "God, please make them stop." And God answered my prayer, my call out, because Marcus, as we honored tonight, stopped. I don't know if just anybody would stop, but he did. And for that, just for that moment that he opened his door and asked if I needed help was enough for me to get my phone out and to call 911. I had asked him to call 911 and he again had said, "I can't." And I didn't know he didn't have service. And then when he left, he went and pounded on doors, trying to get help. I was too exhausted when I called 911 and I said, I need help. And they came. I didn't know if they heard me or not because I was trying to defend myself. I held my shirt out for the dogs to bite, and I told my husband it's 3 more bites that I didn't get. And then about 2 to 3 minutes later, Harry drove up, and these dogs were so much of a rage that Harry sprayed them with mace, and they kept coming at him too. But I was able to get in the back of the police car, and then 30 minutes later, I was on my way to Cott. So as you can tell, this is not easy. And I know that my scars now are healing, but I still have a lot of work to go. And I say now, what now are we going to do? If a dog bites a human of any sort, I think that they ought to be one of 3 things. They either euthanize the dog, which that's what happened to these two, or they have to take out $1 million homeowner or renter's policy. And if they choose that they want to do that, they have to have a muzzle, a basket muzzle on that dog at all times when that dog is not enclosed and on a leash, not just at the owner or the in control of voice command. Obviously, these dogs were not able to be commanded by voice, or they get rid of them, they send them out. Now, with this being said, my understanding right now is that there are 2 pit bulls at that house on the corner right before the shoe tree. And I want to be made public that it is made aware that there are 2 of them there. And if those 2 dogs come after somebody, the owner of the home will be responsible. Because if they have knowledge of a dog like that and they own a home, then they will be responsible for any attack they make. I just want to make that public. So, if a person, the next thing that I really am concerned about is what steps do we take to report dogs? What steps do we take? Do we just come down to, can we do a verbal report? Is that adequate? And this is what I'd like, if a person requests to report dogs, they need to come, when they come into the city, we've got to listen to them and take that as very serious if there are dogs loose. And I think with the incident that happened to me, more people are aware of what's happened and they or more concerned. But I don't want that to fade away, and with time it can. So we have to put procedural steps in place. A report can be either verbal or it can be written. I know that there's some issues with the verbal. You've got to make sure that it is documented. But we've got to make sure, and the reason I say all these things is because I've learned through the process of what I've had to go through. And I had an attorney, I've had to get an attorney. The attorney has educated me on these type of things. And if there had been an official report made when Patricia said that those dogs were coming at her children, and Harry, she reported to me that Harry saw those dogs come at her children, then that would have been even more evidence in my case.
Yeah, and I don't know why part of this is cut off.
Okay, that's right.
No.
So, so that's why I put in here, if an officer observes disobedient dogs, a report needs to be written up, and the owners receive consequences for those dogs being loose. So what I'm asking is that the council please make this ordinance is strict and quick, and these changes need to be made into an ordinance as quick as we can. And I want to thank Rob and Jared and Harry and well, not me, but for them allowing me to be a part of the conversation that we had about it, and a lot of changes that need to take place. So accountability to me is the biggest thing there is, holding people accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It's tough to talk about it. I really realize that, but I believe it brings it home to us all that this is scary stuff.
It is.
You know, and if a small child had been there,
It wouldn't.
I don't know what we would have done. I mean, this is just we all got kids, grandkids, etc. out there, and you know, it just scares you to death. So, all right. So with that. Thank you for that. And then now the next thing on the agenda here is to, let's see, let's turn these off. Is to look at this ordinance, proposed ordinance changes. And again, this is the piece A that we talked about earlier. These are the ones these are changes. Some of them are relatively easy to go do. Some of them speak directly to what Mary was talking about, but things that we have total control over and we can go do, and then we'll talk about the next steps on the other things. I'm not very good with Word. Bud's been busy, and so we took a crack at the actual wording changes. So
I reviewed them.
So you're okay with that?
Oh, okay.
Now, the way this thing is all of these, the stuff in your packet is in color, should be in color, not the first page, it's all that, it's just the whereases. But basically, we're going to try to address 10-1, which is some definitions, 10-3, which is the running at large section in our current ordinance, and 10-12, which is sanitary conditions, and 10-14, which is the penalties. And those were all things we had pretty much agreement on earlier, and then we'll talk about the other sections that we still need to go off and go through.
Email.
Did we?
Did we?
I don't know. Did we send this out in an email?
Yeah. This?
Oh, we did get this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, 10-1, this one speaks to the ability to control a dog by voice, okay? So in our definitions, it's mentioned twice. Once under the definition of restraint, what restraint means. And so a simple change on that is to remove the "or" that's up there in the first sentence. And so that's what we're suggesting.
Copy of this, I'm lost on it. It was in blue.
Right there, there you go, right there.
Oh, there, okay, thank you.
Okay? So that's number one. Anybody got any questions of that? That basically says that now that restraint means that an animal
And/or.
is secured by a leash or lead and under the control of the responsible person, and is obedient to that person's command. Basically, if it's not in its own yard, and it's out in your own yard or your own enclosure, it needs to be on a leash. That's a major change because people have not, still don't fully understand that, but we will when we get this, if we pass this way. The other definition section that referred to under voice command is the running at large definition, and we're going to change it. We're proposing to change it from the owner or keeper or under audible control. I'm going to read the whole thing here. Running at large shall be not completely confined by building, wall, or fence, or sufficient strength or construction to restrain the animal, except when such animal is either on a leash or held in the hands of the owner or keeper, or under audible control of the owner. And we're suggesting that we take that section out of under audible control of the owner. Okay, and read the second way. Anybody got questions about that one? And then we wanted to add the following definitions to the definition section, which is on tethering. We had a discussion at the work session and also in our how to actually implement that. The one is that tethering is really not a good thing, but people use that currently within the city to control them. If they don't have a fence, they do feel like they can go tie them up. So you can see what we're suggesting to go do. We're going to, tethering shall mean using a chain, rope, tether, leash, cable, or other device to attach a dog to a stationary object or trolley system. The minimum length of such device is 10 feet from the animal to the stationary object. The allowed use of tethering as a form of animal control by owners is temporary and will expire on January 1st, 2022. That gives them a year to either get them an enclosure, gives them a year and a half to get them an enclosure, or relocate the dog outside the city limits. Anybody got a problem with that? Okay. Then,
So the tethering has to be in an open yard, is what you're saying, and because we used to have our dog on a really long
Run.
run.
The problem having that is that they have the ability to break loose,
Yeah.
and there's no,
or in some cases, the ability for animals without the fence, there are other animals or small children
exactly.
to go run up to them.
Yes, that's true.
Not thinking. As we get into some of this next section when we're talking about what defines a vicious animal, it gets really complicated pretty fast. And so,
Okay. I'm okay with that.
okay, so you're.
I just wanted generate some discussion.
Okay. Section 10-3, running at large prohibited, is that section. And right now it says that our current ordinance says it shall be unlawful for any domestic species except domestic cats possessed, kept, or harbored to run at large. So basically, if you're not a cat, you got to be on a leash. And I noticed that we have a number of people that got chickens and other fowls around here. And I'm not picking. Everybody, I like picking on Sonia because she has those, but
Don't pick on our chickens.
but there are many. There's a number of other instances around town that has that, and this would, I think, help clarify that that's okay. That that's all right to go off and go do that. So we're saying that cats and birds can go run around on their own.
There's speed control for Northwest River Road.
What if it was an emu or something?
We actually thought through that, etc. The fact that we don't have any of those in town, and don't
Say small.
what was the question?
I can
What if it's an ostrich
email.
or an emu or something?
Oh, yeah, they're mean.
Yeah.
But there was something.
Dang, there's got to be some kind of special. That's more like for
What,
I
is
would
that a
consider
fowl?
that-
Are they classified as a fowl?
I think so.
An emu and
They're
an
a bird,
ostrich?
but
Yeah,
they
but
may
there's
be
some
more
kind of
like, you know, if you're gonna have one, I think you'll have one as a pet, you're
It
gonna
may be an
you're gonna-
exotic
or-
animal though, as
or
opposed
be
to
more
a
like
pet.
you know, cattle or something.
Okay, the next section is 10-8, nuisance prohibited with Chapter 6 animal control is amended as follows. Currently, 10-8 only says maintaining a public nuisance shall be considered unlawful as described in section 10-1. That's the definitions. It has a section over there. This is where we decided that we thought we ought to put count limits. We talked in the section of should there be a limit on the number of dogs and or other animals that are allowed within the city. And so we're saying we're going to try to do the following. The following specific actions are prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person to own, keep, or harbor more than 5 dogs over 3 months of age at any one residence or location within the city limits. We don't. The 5 came out of the air. It could be 6, it could be 2, it could be, I mean, I don't know what the number is, but having a limit, we don't want 25.
No, I don't, no more than 5.
Okay.
So you can breed dogs, but usually they're sold or given away by
That's right.
3 months.
by 3 months.
Yeah. We don't want to penalize somebody that has 2 dogs and they have a litter of puppies that are cute as all get out, right? You know.
Yeah.
All right. B, it shall be unlawful for any person to own, keep, or harbor more than 12 chickens or other domestic fowl over 3 months of age at any one address or location within the city. 12's enough, I think. Those numbers did come out of the air, kind of, but they also came out of, I believe we were looking at Buta's animal control.
It must have come from some,
Yeah.
So-
Otherwise, it becomes a big clucking problem.
Yeah.
What about cats? There's no number on cats?
There is not. We talked about that at the
Right.
workshop, and nobody wanted to, nobody suggested standing up to do that.
Right.
So we didn't put it in there, but we could revisit that.
You know, the thing is, we haven't.
Should we limit cats?
I don't think in here it talks about where they're, what is the word for them, where they can't reproduce?
Neutered,
Neutered? No, they're,
Well.
yeah,
spayed.
spayed, neutered, whatever. So we haven't addressed that in here. But I'm not suggesting, because this is a nuisance. Well, they do become a nuisance if they're not fixed. At one time, my mom had too many cats, and we had to have them all taken away because she had, but we're talking about a lot of cats.
Well, are you proposing that we add a section on cats and limit them as well?
I don't know what I'm
like to.
proposing.
You know, 'cause boy, you can.
What's that? Yeah, I know.
Right. And is it, I see it as.
I just want to make it where it's
as an
safe and where,
unhealthy
it's healthy, right?
atmosphere because, you
The
see
health
those
issue
borders-
can be addressed and is addressed in the cleanliness sections.
Okay, let's move on to that one then.
Yeah, but-
Okay.
Another item C is all persons residing in the city who own 1 or more dogs must keep such dog or dogs at the residential premises permanently occupied and inhabited by said dog owner. It shall be unlawful for said dog owner to keep their dogs at any other locations within the city limits. Animals found at a property where an owner does not reside will be considered abandoned and subject to impoundment. Now, I don't know how.
I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, if you move out of a house and you leave your dog,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
am I reading that right?
Yeah, that's one of those. The other one is people who
Right.
may have multiple residences
Right,
that keep the dog in the yard behind the house they don't live in.
Are they go on vacation and leave them?
Well, no, there's
There's not a
a time limit somewhere defined, somewhere in there, I remember. I don't exactly, can't tell you that, but there was, there's a 30-day thing in there. Now, if somebody goes and leaves to go, to Canada and leave their animal behind, that's a problem, but, for the summertime,
Oh, yeah.
snowbirds that
Yeah, but
come
if you
in.
have somebody coming in and checking your,
Well, that's, no.
that's still not.
That would fail this one, and that may be what they were addressing here, is that people that want to have a sitter come and watch their animal for 6 months,
I'm
that could
talking
be.
about just like a week, 2-week vacation.
Yeah, no, I think there's a 30-day limit that I saw in
Oh,
there
okay.
somewhere. I'll double check that.
Okay.
I don't keep them memorized. Okay. And then D is just a disqualifier that says that you can have an animal shelters, veterinary establishments, animal hospitals operated by licensed vet or whatever or pet stores
So,
don't.
a kennel.
Yeah.
How many chickens do you have?
8.
You're just under it.
That's what I told him.
That's why I give free eggs.
All right, 10-12 is the sanitary conditions, and we've expanded that in this proposal. It is a violation of this ordinance if an owner of an animal, either willfully or through failure to exercise care and controls, allow a dog or other domesticated or pet animal to urinate or defecate upon the sidewalk or parkway or any public street or upon the floor of any common hall, in an entranceway or stairway, or upon any wall or any public place or building or public park, and any private property not of the owner. If the owner of the offending animal fails to remediate or clean up the waste deposited by the animal. So basically, it's a pooper scooper clause, plus if they come along and urinate on the street or on the sidewalk or something, they need to take some steps to do it or they're in violation. Now this is going to be a major impact to the city. I know for a fact that I've watched a number of people, they're all on leashes now, but they are walking up and down the street and, doing their business. It gets back to, we talked about some of the uses of our parkland, and that someday we might want to take some of that acreage and turn it into a dog park so that they have a place to go do that. But I personally view people bringing animals in from out of town and take them down to Allen Bates, and they're not a soul around, but down they go, and they're off there doing their thing. This says that if we see that, it's ticket time. They either pick it up or whatever. That's going to be a major. So everybody still cool with that? You're good. You don't like that? That's going to be tough to do, isn't it? I mean, we're sort of out in the country, and
Why is it hard to do? I always picked up poop. I carry plastic bags with me and pick up poop.
Yep. I done that too in the
There's
city.
some places that you don't really need to.
Well,
It's not places where people are walking and they're pooping in areas that wooded area that nobody can barely get into.
well then how, that's not gonna be,
But it's even like whenever you're going hiking, if you're on a state park and
That's
you're out
right.
there in the wooded area,
You
it's
still
still
do
as
it.
a responsible pet owner to be responsible for your pet. You still take your dog poop or whatever and you carry it with you and you dispose of it, or you do what you need to do because you love your pets and you're
That's right.
responsible.
if you travel in an RV, you learn that real quick.
The only thing I see is urinate. How you gonna?
Yeah, what do you, I don't know about that one.
How you
I don't know how
gonna?
you-
Most dogs don't.
All dogs urinate, Jan.
I'm not on the sidewalk.
I mean, they urinate. I mean, that's
It
the poop
depends.
scoop would be.
Some dogs wouldn't do it on concrete, but I've seen others that have grown up in kennels and stuff. I mean, that's where they're taught. And they could care less. I mean, they just,
We don't have any sidewalks per se, but one.
all of these out here.
Oh, out here, yeah.
Good catch-all. You have some nefarious individual a few years down the road that decides it's a good thing to let their dog pee on the sidewalk.
Well,
You've
change
got,
it.
You've got a way to stop them.
Or on the tire of your 2020
Yeah, but how do you
Chevrolet
clean that
Camry.
up? You can't pick up the.
When you're walking by and they
There's nothing you can
continuously
really
pee on your
do.
tire,
I would say maybe
So you need to change offending animal
repeated
to
offenses of urination.
you need to change offending animal to defecating animal.
And that fixes it?
Yeah, because then if the owner fails,
Yeah, but
the
it says,
defecating animal fails to remediate and clean up the waste.
So we can.
So they can urinate all they want, just
Yeah.
can't defecate.
Right, so can we scratch out urinate?
Yeah, we'll scratch out offending and replace it with defecating and that.
Yeah, because it still makes it a violation of the ordinance. I mean, listen, it addresses the problem. If someone's they walk their dog up there on the sidewalk and continue to let their dog pee on the sidewalk, you can say, well, the ordinance says you can't do that, so stop.
Yeah,
Or we'll stop it for you.
here's a warning.
But, oh, by the way, if your dog defecates, you gotta pick it up. If your dog pees,
Right.
I mean, you can't make them spray bleach and.
What are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do to a
That's
urinating
what my-
animal? I've never cleaned up urine.
I have with a hose, a water hose.
Yeah, well, yeah, that way, but if you're walking on public sidewalk, you don't have a water hose.
Right.
You carry a bucket of water with you.
Right.
I guess a little water like that. And just,
Okay, I'll
What are
take
we
that
doing
suggestion.
next?
I'll take
Leave urinate?
Just change the
The
last.
thing is, strike out offending and put defecating.
Take out urinate?
No, take out
Leave
offending.
urinate up there, domestic or pet animal to urinate or defecate upon the sidewalk. We're leaving that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then just
If the owner of the
defecating
defecating
animal fails to remediate
animal,
and clean up the waste deposited.
Yeah,
okay, fails to remediate. Okay,
good catch.
works good.
All right, and then the last section is the penalty section, which we're saying we're gonna go do away with the current verbiage altogether and replace it with these 5 pieces. And the 5 pieces are, number 1, the first violation of any of the provisions of this chapter, with the exception of section 10-10, control of vicious animals, and 10-11, dogs that are a danger to persons, will be assessed a warning citation. What was put forth in the workshop was they get a warning. Now this is not those who are deemed to be a danger or vicious. This is just strictly pets that are non-harmful kind of pets going around. If they violate some section of the ordinance, then they get warned. Hey, your dog did this. It pooped on the sidewalk. You had it loose, running without a leash. It barked too much. Whatever. Number 2 is any violation following a documented warning of this chapter, with the exception of section 10-10 and 10-11, shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor, and upon conviction shall be fined a sum of $250. The old ordinance, or the current ordinance, if you remember, had a range from a number up to, I think, 200, and the feeling was to raise it to 250 and don't let the.
I thought we were gonna do a range.
No, I think the inputs of that night was just hard and fast, make it $250.
And each and every day's violation shall constitute a separate and distinct.
And then if you get a second hit, it goes to $500.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's pretty stiff, but.
Yeah, I still think there needs to be a range, but.
We have one range, we have one no range. If I recall, you were the one that said, let's don't have a range, let's just do it right. And Mike, what's your feeling on it?
I agree with Sonia on that one.
Okay, so that's where we're at on that one. Okay, number 3 is the first violation of section 10-10 or section 10-11. Now these are the vicious animals and or danger to persons, animals that have passed that test. Shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor, and upon conviction shall be fined a sum of $250, and each and every violation shall constitute a separate and distinct offense. Subsequent convictions for any violation of this chapter shall be fined an amount of $500. So, dog bites a person, they don't get the warning. Dog growls, snarls, and a person says, I think that I'm scared of that dog gonna bite me, and it goes through the proper steps of being approved by animal control as a dangerous dog or a vicious animal, a ticket is assessed. There's no warnings associated with those.
Now, wait a minute. Now, this 250, that's just for if a dog attacks? Or is that even for, you didn't
Well, that's.
scoop up your poop?
No, that's not, didn't scoop up your, well, if it's a dangerous dog, you got him out there, and you didn't scoop up your poop, I believe that the law would then say it'd be 350, right? I mean, 250. That's right. But it has to be deemed a dangerous animal.
Right, okay.
By the process that we have yet to get to, okay?
Okay.
But that's how when we talked, we said, we want to give people a second chance if they're due kind of the lower level stuff, but on the tough stuff, there's no second chances. If your animal has been identified as a dangerous animal, that you have now moved into a category, you don't get second chances. You better control it and make sure you follow the rules. Okay. If a person is convicted of violating any penal law regarding animal care, such as a person's privilege and license to own, keep, harbor, or have such a person's privilege and license to own, keep, harbor, or have custody of animals shall be deemed automatically revoked upon conviction. If a person is convicted of a violation of this chapter regarding animal care, the judge of the municipal court may order as part of the judgment a period of time may pass before the person may apply for any new or renewed such privileges or licenses. So basically it is, if you have animals and you don't keep care of them, there's a method of saying you cannot own an animal in the city, I guess, is what this is.
Well, but this says renewed such privilege or license. That means that we're going to have them come.
They have to come back and appeal I don't know.
We are going to have them register all animals here.
Well,
Yeah.
that's still
what
where we're
that's
headed.
saying.
That's where we're still headed, yeah.
Right,
We haven't got that in there yet.
right.
Failure registers.
I thought I saw something.
Right, but if, we haven't talked about that yet.
That's part of it,
Yeah, okay, gotcha,
Okay. And then the last one is at the workshop and afterwards, we talked about a statute of limitations on reports, et cetera, that they had to be, and they actually said it is pretty close in, like 30 days. We wanted people to report these things within 30 days. Upon investigation, the penal code is 2 years for Class C misdemeanors, and we don't have any leeway to shorten that. We could lengthen it.
Because it's penal code,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's where you get the statute of limitations. But anything past 2 years is too old to go off. So those are the proposed changes. We had one suggested change, which is shake out.
Offensive and put defecating.
Yeah, offending and replace it with defecating. And so if that's good, somebody could make a motion to pass this ordinance tonight and we will go.
Now, this doesn't have anything to do with registering yet. We haven't gotten to that yet.
We're gonna talk about that
tonight?
We're gonna talk about the path tonight, not the actual things, because we still got a lot of research.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance number
We don't have it on here.
310, is that what it would be? 031020?
Wait a minute. It says Chapter 6 of the Animal Control Ordinance.
What would don't you put the ordinance on the date? Isn't it directly
Oh, I
related
see.
to the date that you
Oh,
pass
okay.
it? 03102020? Aren't I right on that? Somebody,
The first one is a resolution, this is an ordinance, two different things.
and you don't
So
put,
you could have 3-10. Because
Okay.
it's a resolution.
I'm thinking of resolution, is that?
No, this is
No,
an
no.
ordinance.
I know, but I'm thinking resolution.
So
the
you're
number.
good with the naming convention there, 3-10. Okay, that's good.
Okay, 3-10.
3-10.
Okay, that's my motion.
Okay.
Excuse me, I know this is wrong, but I've got to leave. And would y'all consider thinking about what to do with little girls that are eating big dogs? There's got to be a place. You can't just put your...
That's not under control, so that's the word, control.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just wanted to...
Thank you.
I'll second.
You guys are great. Thanks.
Say the motion again, please.
I made the motion. Uh-huh.
I guess your motion was to pass the ordinance with the one change of section
Exactly.
10-12,
Yes.
removing offending and replacing with defecating.
Exactly.
All right, and then Sonia,
Second it.
you second it still?
Yes, sir.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, very good. All right, now last on section G is the consideration of the two big sections. The first thing that we noticed as we went through and read all these and studied them pretty heavy, that there's two areas that lead you to kind of the same point. One was section 10-11, which was dangerous dogs, and the other one was section 10-10, which was vicious animals. Now, vicious animals is not a term used in the state health code, so we couldn't get any guidance out of that one. The city definitions of vicious animals overlaps with dangerous dogs. The two differences is a dangerous dog is a dog that bites or a person feels might bite a human. A human has to be involved. Vicious animals, the way we defined it in the city, is that it could be either a human or a domestic animal. So if a dog attacks another dog, then that fell you into the vicious animal. But also if a dog attacked a human, it also fell into vicious animals. So there was some confusion there that was going on. Additionally, the role of animal control throughout the ordinance was mentioned a number of times, of which I've got listed down there. Some of the times, it is a shared responsibility. So the 2004 ordinance referred to things like enforcement of this chapter. I'm talking about section 10-2A. Enforcement of this chapter shall be the responsibility of the supervisor of animal control, which would be Hannah Garrett for Caldwell County, his or her designee, so Mr. Townsend, or a police officer of the municipality. So it could be Harry or Chris, the rest of them. And each of those other paragraphs also referred to a shared responsibility. We can do it, they can do it, etc. But there were a number of cases in there, specifically, you see a lot of 10-10 and 10-11, where the supervisor of animal control will establish, is the statement, they don't have shared responsibilities. And I could only believe, reading this, that was done intentionally, that there are certain things that need special training, need more than every now and then kind of working with the problem. You need somebody that does this full time on a regular basis to go off and make those kind of decisions. So that's sort of the background of why we're proposing the following two slides, okay? Now, y'all, I don't think they're in color any more than mine yet. So the first one that says the current ordinance looks like that. And one side is the section 10-11 that describes the definition of a dangerous dog and what you're supposed to do. There's a number of things that are left out, as Mary pointed out in her presentation. Once the incident is reported, according to our ordinance, the police may investigate the incident. That's kind of a problem. When you get down to the bottom, if you eventually get an animal control officer to deciding that the dog is deemed to be dangerous, there is a well-defined list of what they're supposed to go do. But what happens if he clears them? Nothing. We never did anything, okay? So there needs to be some communication that goes back to the owner of the animal and the person who made the complaint that this is why it was decided, how it was decided that this wasn't really a dangerous dog, etc. Same kind of thing over on the vicious animal side, but it even got less instruction. There was sort of a magic thing that happened in there that once the incident reported, somehow it gets to the animal control, but there's no instructions on who investigates, what's investigated. No, it's not. So that's the issues that we said we needed to go make sure we fixed with the proposed changes. And so the next page, which are the proposed changes, is that we basically leave the definitions the same that are in our front end that says what a dangerous dog and what a vicious dog is, but we merge this into a single section that says, okay, a dog bite incident is reported to police, and then the police shall investigate the incident and present evidence to animal control. Okay, somebody comes in and says, that dog bit me. I was afraid that dog was gonna bite me. That dog, mean old Bruno dog, bit my little Fifi and he tried to kill this one or whatever. I think this is a dangerous dog. Once we do that, we investigate, get the facts, present those facts to animal control and let them then either go re-talk to they can follow up on that if they want or make a decision based off what was presented to them. It's up to them. But animal control in this case is the professionals, the people who've trained and know what a vicious dog is. And the reason I say that's important is that we've had a number of situations where we've actually had somebody come in, a resident, and say, that dog's a vicious dog, I need to do something with that dog, etc. And then the incident is that dog was on a leash, another animal that was not on a leash, and it would be, and obviously not under voice command, ran up and started yapping and barking at it, within a leash distance, and that's basically a provocation to the first animal. I have visions of 3-year-olds walking by a dog on a leash and saying, "Mommy dog," and grab his tail, and now the kid gets bit. Again, that's a bad situation, but I'm not sure that that's necessarily a vicious animal as much as a dumb little kid. Okay? And those are the kind of situations that I think animal control people are trained to go investigate and understand and make a decent ruling on. So, what we're proposing is that we report every incident that comes in on those, write it up. We've already changed our policy to go use, what do you use the system in the car? CopSync. We write up any of these in CopSync so that there's a documented list of that. Once we turn any of those over to animal control, they make a decision. One of them is basically the dog should be removed from the city. If they view this as that dog is a danger and should not be in the city, they can make that. In our current city ordinance, there is an appeals process for that, but the dog must be removed within 10 days pending the appeal. In other words, he's got to leave. If he wins the appeal, he can come back, but he's got to leave to start with. Okay, and so we'll mirror that language.
So that when they come back, that owner has to have $1 million.
No, if the appeal says no, y'all are wrong, that isn't a dangerous dog, then it's off. He's won the appeal.
Okay.
Now, if the animal control rules that yes, this dog is dangerous, but they don't say you have to remove him from the city, that he's too dangerous, so you can stay in the city if they follow the VTCA rules. That's your $1 million. That's the leash and enclosure requirements, etc. And we put in there, because of the meetings, we put in there that a muzzle requirement for the dog if he's outside the enclosure.
I'd like to say a basket muzzle instead of just a muzzle.
Well, I got that. This was just general. We'll get the words, and if I missed that on the next go-round, that's when you need to remember me. And then, of course, if the animal control sides, nope, you guys are wrong, that was just a stupid kid, not a dangerous dog, then the police needs to notify the person reporting the incident so they understand that it was looked at, it was reviewed, and this is the decision that came out of it.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're headed with this, but what's holding me up for getting this done is a discussion with animal control. We want to talk to Hannah. We've just been missing her. She's verbally said, yes, we need to talk. We'd like to come, but I just haven't been able to get over there for coronavirus, etc. Now, there's another piece to this longer term thing that is not even been addressed yet. It is the requirements for registration.
Right.
So, as I said earlier in the flow, first step that the city's planning on doing is getting the 2004 thing on American Legal so that everybody can see it. That's underway. The second thing is to update it with what we just passed. That'll take another 6 to 8 weeks before people see those, but they become effective immediately upon this.
Okay.
The third piece is this one and the registration, which is going to take
This
up.
one we need to put on first.
Yes, that one's been.
Chapter 6.
That one's headed already there.
So we will. So with this, Do we have to make a motion with this one?
Oh, yes, we gotta work, no, not tonight,
Not
not tonight.
tonight,
This
that's
is
what I thought.
information,
Still in, right.
right, this is just information, so you know that we're not ignoring this, we're working it, but we're just doing it in an
Phase.
organized.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that brings us to the close of good old item 8G. And we now go to agenda item 8H, which is the citywide cleanup. I guess we have traditionally held those in the springtime. We didn't do it last year because we got rained out. We got kind of a late jump and then we got rained out. And we postponed it till October. That worked out fine. The question now before the council is, do we want to try to go off and do one of these right now within the springtime, either April or May?
I would say that I could head it, and I would say April 25th because it's around Earth Day. Earth Day is like that week before, and
That's April 28th.
April 25th is a Saturday, and I could lead it.
And I'll sit.
And we need to get the Gary Job Corps helping us last time was really good.
Okay.
I thought, didn't you, Rob, didn't you think
Yeah,
so?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
There were several of them there that worked their tails off. There's a few of them that started.
I know.
I don't care. That made life a lot easier. Wasn't Mark and me jumping in the dumpsters too bad.
Yeah.
25th, April 25th.
That's a proposal. We have. I think we have 6 dumpsters coming.
Oh, 6, didn't we have 8 last time?
No, we had.
Do we
Remember how many we had this? But the new contract allows us 6. Now the new contract took off on May something. So I got to go see if we have 6 freebies, or we may not get another 6 freebies until.
I bet you they'll give it to you.
You think
Wait,
so?
because I thought we were, so we still have two in 1 year, 2 cleanups in 1 year, right?
And we,
Oh, well, we did.
yeah, we didn't have one in the spring last year. We only had one in October.
And that was because the
Because
spring
the
was
rain,
rained
it
out.
rained out,
Oh,
and we
that's right.
went ahead and had it in
Oh,
October.
okay. But isn't there something where they're gonna wean it down and hopefully people will get more roadside
Yes.
pickup?
Yes, that was Lisa's idea, was that we would use more roadside pickups to offset some of this. And I think we've been telling folks that, haven't they? They call in and ask, but there's still some out there that I see that don't avail themselves of that. But I'll look at the contract, make sure, but we can tentatively decide it's gonna be April 25th.
Okay,
If that's okay, everybody happy with that?
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
You gonna,
Yes, sir.
you sure? All right.
Where's my?
Don't you fuss at me.
I told her I would assist.
I
All
don't know
right.
whether I'm gonna be in town, but if I am, I'll be down there.
Let's have a motion
Yeah,
here.
fine.
Do we need a motion? We don't need a motion on that.
I think last
I
time
don't think we
somebody
need it now. We
couldn't do
don't.
it.
Okay, that's just,
Last time.
we'll plan on that. We don't need a motion. Okay, and that brings us to agenda item 9, discussion only. Sonia, last time you had mentioned something about what we could do to control dumping within the city.
Well, it's not to control dumping, but it's like a matter of like reporting and how to get like, you know, if they see dumping, like is there a form that they could fill out? Like if it's on Guadalupe side, like where does Guadalupe start? There's a form that you have to fill out for Caldwell County. Like how will people know what the protocol is to follow to report illegal dumping?
Right, because we have some right up here on the road, on the left, there's
Skulls.
like, right,
always do.
Northwest River Road, right before, in front of the house where the dogs attacked me.
They did, I think that's.
But that's illegal dumping right there, you can't, even if it's yours, you can't dump out in front of your house.
Yeah.
A couch and
Yes.
that plastic bags full of stuff. So I call that illegal.
Yes, but see, like some
Oh,
people
you're
don't
talking
know,
about
like that is illegal, but you know, or it is like debris that's been there or either they moved out of the property or whatever, but I know that once you pass the River Ranch Estates, kind of like there at that curb, there's always like sofas there, mattresses, there's a TV there, so I know because like I travel that road often that if I see it there, I know that it's Guadalupe County. Guadalupe County has a form that you go online, you fill out, you submit it. Or you can,
I didn't know that.
Submitting that? Since you see it all the time?
I call.
You know what they need to do is put webcams.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, that's good to know.
So you think that there's a protocol on the Guadalupe side, but you don't know of anything on our side, do you?
I
Do you know of anything,
I know in
Chris?
Caldwell County they do as well. The
I'm not
environmental.
aware, but they may, I'm not aware.
It's the environmental code enforcer, or I think it's Mike Bittner, or he used to be. But there's like, if we just had like links, if you see dumping on Guadalupe side, this is a form you submit it here, or this is Caldwell County, boom. If you see illegal dumping in the city, report, who would they report it to the city?
Yeah, if they're dumping it,
It's the city.
but it's inside the city limits. We, that's the thing is that if it's not inside the city limits, we haven't.
Even in the ETJ, you don't ever call anybody?
No, I don't think so.
What do we do if it's in the city limits? Who do we call?
Call out here to tell us Harry, Harry's gone out and picked up stuff. And,
So then, like what
hell, I've gone off and picked up stuff.
See, so, I mean, even if it's just a solution, like I could print out some of the things from Guadalupe County, Caldwell County. I could have little folders here. If somebody came in and said, hey, there's some trash over there past school, then they just could fill out their little paper, and if I had to scan it for them, then I would scan it or fax it or whatever, just to be a part of the solution and not just say it's not in my area or my neighborhood, because we do travel that area. That stuff does blow in. It does make its way into the river. So
That's
if
right.
it's a matter of scanning a piece of paper or making copies for our concerned citizens that do want to report it, then I would say let's make a copy. Or let's just
Be in the
get our own
solution.
little
I like
form.
that one.
Let's just
I have a question about citywide. What time? 8 in the morning? 7?
8 to noon usually, right?
Okay, okay. I put 8 on my
So
phone.
what days are
Or was it 9 to noon?
April 25th.
Was it 9 to noon or 8 to noon?
8 in the morning?
Was it 8 or 9?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was 8.
Sorry to back up.
Got
I
up
just
early
needed
at
that.
7 down there to meet the
I just
trucks to
put all
make sure
day.
they were there.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that was good discussion on trash.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to item number 10, future agenda items. We got commemorative naming, and Kent, I hear, has gone through that. Jared sent that.
Oh,
to
naming
him.
of streets?
Yeah, that's the commemorative thing that we talked about before, and so we're about ready, we'll probably go over that next time, which is for whatever is it? When is it? Our next one is 4 and 7, so. Road restriping is still off of the thing. Park rules review, I think we probably ought to go talk about that, but that ought to be that's more of a just discussion only to start with. In reviewing
Park
ordinances.
rules. Oh, I see.
We've been-
Can we get something from the committee for the recommendations from them first or something?
Well, I think what we need to review is what's in our ordinances and what's on the
okay.
current sign. They would like a new sign, and I think we need two or three new signs for that. But I believe we better just have a discussion on that one to start with.
Okay.
There has been some reports that those rules are just guidelines as opposed to in ordinances, but I think we got it in an ordinance on at least some of that stuff, maybe all of it. I haven't gone through and checked them off one by one, but I think we are. And then the library contract and accreditation process is still out there.
Well, I talked to Carol and she is working on a contract. So I don't know if maybe we should discuss it first or wait until they finish. with their
The
contract.
plan was
I
to
don't know
bring
when
them
we'll
in
be
here and talk
together.
about the accreditation process and what their future holds and
Now,
what steps
her
they
annual
need.
report does come up the end of this month, I
Right,
think.
right.
So she'll probably be doing something in the next meeting or
Yeah,
or
we
something.
can
You
do
can
that
ask
in
her and
May,
see if she-
on 4 and 7, maybe we can do that. And then the Adopt a Highway program was suggested by somebody, and I hadn't even looked at that yet. I don't know where we're at on that. Is there any other things that people have got out there that need to?
On that road, restriping, that's what, that for out here. I was gonna, we can discuss that. I had no problem with restriping, but that road's so bad out there.
We can have.
Wouldn't it be best to
wait till it gets repaired.
wait till it gets repaired? Repaved, I mean,
It would, but it also may be, based on the way we're putting money away and just annexation, it might, this is probably a $1,500 thing that might be good for
Right.
4 years and,
Yeah, it might help
I don't know.
parking for the new business, I don't know.
I'm just saying common sense on the road's terrible out there. If we're gonna, I mean, I definitely
Yeah.
guns, maybe we should at least patch that or put something down and make it slick and smooth before we spend all that money for restriping. That's just my personal opinion.
the numbers I've seen on restriping aren't scary at all. They're
He was
not,
saying
they're not big numbers.
no more than $1,500 to restrike it.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
It's
You
like-
think it's
it's
a
like a
waste of
car,
money,
you got a
but
dent, you
when
got a-
when are you gonna be paving this?
We got a
road?
dent in the car, you don't
Yeah.
paint, fix, repair, but that's my personal opinion.
Anything else?
Do we need anything, that might be something to talk about,
Have
is
you got anything
road
that you need?
repair.
You don't
When
have
are we
anything
gonna
coming
be
up?
ready to
Oral
start?
arguments, that's it. On the mine case.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What is
But
it?
it, fourth court of,
6,
fourth court of appeals will set us for oral arguments.
But that won't be ready by 4 and 7. That'd be
The week
May.
before.
It will?
April?
Unless they, yeah, April 2nd, unless they change the date between now and then. Yeah, and they could change the date.
What is this about?
The
The,
fourth court of appeals wants us to make oral arguments on
That'll be a,
briefing in the mine case.
oh,
that'll
okay,
be an
good.
executive session, but we can do that on 4 and 7.
Okay.
All right, good.
All right.
That brings us to,
I make a
Alright.
motion that we adjourn the meeting at 9:16.
we have a
That
second?
too.
I wanted to say thank
wait.
you, Rob, so much for the accuracy and of what we talked about when we came in here on that Monday about the ordinance for animal control. You did a super job. I just want to thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0 passes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, I did.
well, in an unorthodox way.
They,
All right.
say it, that
assume
ship
you wanna-
say
I'm
it.
gonna put all
They
this
hit a bug, didn't they?
I take it you want to.
I guess, I'm good for you.
Hey, I got a meeting next
We'll see y'all later.
All right, bye-bye.
with Mari Domingo's
Mr. McCann, don't say mine.
architect.
I've got some checks.
Talk about what they're doing. In fact, today they had their structural team out there, project and the structural engineering
Trash
lady,
can, yes.
looking over the property
There's a bathroom and one by
put all that together. So,
Oh, you want to do it? What do you want to do? Right here?
Right here.
what's that?
You want to argue?
Mary Paul.
I think we, well,
I don't care.
how much are we gonna charge, how much is he gonna charge us over?
By the hour. I can call them and find out.
Call and find out. It's 2 o'clock, the 16th of whatever month this is, March, here.
When you get
I
that
think it's
form for me to
2
fill out, I fill it out.
Okay.
But when I send money to the state, I'm gonna document, then that way
2
I
p.m.
know what
To
I
call
send down
CPS
here.
engineers.
Does that work? Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And then the
I
other
haven't had
thing
anybody, so I
that
don't
is
know.
brewing
Thank you.
is that Mr. Black's complaint about dangerous dog has made it, is sitting in the court now. I mean, we have followed the process and got to the court. But that's when we said we didn't want to wait till,
All this was.
You want a special setting for it?
whatever you got, I mean, this is, we're paving new ground here, we
You,
haven't done
you,
this.
you want to get it in a hurry, no
Three to
contact.
sign
Yes.
those on.
We want to
Last
get, we
couple
want to
of
go
times
follow
I
the
didn't
process
answer your
and
text.
decide
I felt
what we don't
bad.
know. I mean, I think what we're gonna find is, oh shit.
Sorry
what are we-
about that.
what are we supposed
And that
to
was
do
just for
now?
Rob's
Okay,
check.
yeah, so, I mean, if we want to have something done, because I can tell you, it's probably going to be at least
Police
another
cars.
3 months
Oh,
before
okay.
court, so we'll probably have to have a special setting for it.
Okay, so that's fine. So talk to Tony and find out what you guys gotta do to go make this happen. We'll probably have to call,
That's a reimbursement
Black.
Sonic
Smith with
Fusco
some
about black
little
dogs.
clips where they put those cables down at the
Okay,
park.
gotcha.
yeah.
She's already moved back to Arkansas,
Who asked?
Miss Schmidt,
The park lady.
the park lady. She only lives here half the year.
Oh, all right.
Well, she knows about that park, doesn't she? Man.
They're supposed to get those swings in, this week, I think. Pretty sure.
Hey, so Rob, what can we do on July 4th
And that's just a third of it.
to do the,
Guys, worth it. They spend that much.
the firehouse?
I mean,
I don't know.
Seems like a lot of money to me.
Me too.
But I'm
You really
sure
wanna do that?
That's not a lot of money.
Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to do that at
That's
the,
the
at the picnic.
dispatcher and
I don't know for sure we're gonna have a
inmate
picnic.
processing over the county.
Gotcha.
Put your fire hat on,
Okay,
4th of July picnic.
yep.
They wanna go have their fire hose fight. Is that a real fact? I mean, are we gonna hurt somebody with that?
What do y'all talking, what do y'all mean by
Fence
that?
permits and all
Yeah,
that.
Are you trying to knock each other down?
There, go on YouTube video in Uray, Colorado. They have a water hose. They get fire hoses.
Yeah.
They wear all the gear
Mm-hmm.
and they put the shields on, the life vest, and they have you don't probably do full pressure, but you have the fire hose and you stand back 40 or 50 feet, and then you come back. You get closer and closer to somebody gives up, falls down, or whatever.
Now, the place to do that would be down at the Lorraine's bottom, pecan bottom.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Well, you know
you
what?
could have two teams there.
You know what they usually do though? They usually do it on the main street.
Well,
You can shut down the road for it. I mean, I don't know, the taking on the liability would be completely up to the city. I mean, that's not,
That seems like a lot.
If
of
You
water-
want the firefighters to do that. It'd be the volunteer fire department want to do that. I'm no
I've seen a
expert.
lot of them already.
I'm just saying, go to YouTube and see Uray. Hey, people come around for miles to watch this thing. It's to raise money.
what, yeah,
Would it
Yeah.
raise money for the fire department?
Yeah, good for the fire department, yeah.
yeah, it's an idea. Something else I've seen that's maybe a little bit safer, but still kind of cool, is you're spraying, but instead of spraying each other, you got a lane, and you got like
Target.
a cone.
Oh, this is a lot,
or a
this is a
barrel.
lot more exciting.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, and,
Liability.
and you're pushing, and,
You gotta get
and
the
you're
attorney's
pushing it,
approval, but.
you know.
Especially if the mayor's involved and then.
Hey, it's probably a firefighter's deal, you know?
well,
Yeah,
hell,
don't-
first
don't
off,
tell
it
my
started
guys,
with you
because
two
they'll be all
guys.
over
wanting
it.
to-
That's the guys that needed, I mean, I'll.
You and I need to do it.
Oh, okay.
I feel like the real fundraising part is nominating somebody to be sprayed. You can pay to put your vote in for somebody to be sprayed.
Oh, well, there you
Seriously,
go.
that
That's a
thing
good
is,
idea.
So this is,
I'll shout
moving
$50
money
for the
into the
mayor.
police.
Oh, yeah, we can get some good money. I'll pitch in for that one.
Okay, we're just-
That's something.
Fourth of July.
We don't have, unless we did it as part of the parade.
Okay,
Yeah.
We're not, or that picnic, we're really not, and the picnic is
That's for mowing the park and,
that's not a
Yeah, Denny
fundraising
Payne's got
thing.
sign below this.
That's
yeah,
not,
and then I'll get into
that's a
some.
families get together and yak kind of thing, so,
You talking about Lorraine's?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, I just don't know how to pull this off without matching it with that,
Have we reached out to any of these other properties about coming into the ETJ?
I talked to these people, they came in after they heard about this and told me that this guy that owns this one also owns this one.
no, look on that,
But
seriously. It's a
he
hoot.
bought
Yeah, I'll look at that.
The original
That sounds
owner in
cool.
They bring people,
2007,
and what
there
they
was
do,
two
they
owners.
have their fire trucks
The
and
guy
they,
came in and bought them
and then,
both.
you know, it's summertime, it's hot, and then they
And has
spray
not known
people.
that
They
they
go
were
up there
gonna
and
go
spray
tell
the
him
crowd.
to
It's
come.
something.
That's pretty cool. We might look at that.
I mean, you know,
What about
you,
this guy right here?
you need some young guys with the full gear and, you know, face shields and all that.
Yeah.
Should check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
How are you?
I saw your name in the.
Just one thing we gotta do is
Oh, yeah?
talk to the water company and give us a break on the
What'd you
water.
think?
Yeah.
'Cause that's,
They
You live
work
in
with
Hayes
us real
County?
good on it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
if you can't find it, I mean, it's,
What about
She
that?
voted for
we
Kerry.
go every July 4th. It's-
She better
it's-
looking than
I
me.
mean, it brings people from everywhere. It's really cool.
Okay, yeah. I'll
No,
look
we
at
have
that.
not done that.
These
We
guys
can't
are
get to
serious,
here
man.
because this, we
Yeah.
don't own this. We
Yeah,
keep
these guys,
the river
they have-
separated.
Well, that sounds like something we'd
So
be
what we
interested
would
in.
have to
We'll have
do
to look
is
at
get
it
this
and
one
figure
and this
out.
one.
There's some guys that are the badasses. They have
We
a
should try.
different crews, I guess
This
they
color
adjust the pressure.
is
Mm-hmm.
people
One of the
who
champions had won it.
are not in
won it,
Martindale's
like
ETJ, never
8
have
years in a
petitioned
row.
us, et cetera.
They got that
But
hose
because
going.
the way
They got one
Bert
man
and the
holding the
rest of
hose
them
and
wanted
went
to
down
do
the
this, draw a
nozzle.
big line,
And the
they
champions,
gave all that away.
what they do, a lot of those
without
guys, they
us actually
nozzle, they
having
so much
it.
force,
Yeah.
they can't really control it.
Now they just get those people
They'll
wanting
hit
to.
them in the head, in the chest, like
There's
that.
3, I
And
think.
this group, bam, they nail them right in the head. And then they keep going and they hit them.
We're paying this
They got
guy
a full
more
face
money?
shield, right? And they hit them and they hit
But
them.
if you get your head off center, you're going down. So that's.
Well, they have that hose in it. Most of the time they have that full shield with all this, they're bundled up.
I thought it was.
Sure.
But what is it?
Something
It's
like
a
a
consequence.
campaign donation.
And eventually, after about 15, 20
You
guys,
signed all the
just
rest of it.
exhausted, they fall.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
it's-
Thank you.
Huh.
Thank you,
That's
Dwayne.
It's for the badasses that want to do that.
that's pretty cool.
All right,
All right.
marching orders in place.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
You better
Mayor,
win.
you need anything from me?
No,
Brian?
See you, gents.
You did good. Thank you for.
All right,
sticking around.
no problem.
Appreciate it.
All right.